So harrowing to watch. And he's all his teammates.
Scotland don't go to World Cups very often. One of the times they did was in 1998. Tony Blair wasn't long into his tenure as Prime Minister, and Bewitched were at #1. Under Craig Brown, Scotland's route to France '98 was a relatively straightforward one, finishing second in their qualifying group behind Austria, but crucially ahead of Sweden. Their place was secured in October 1997. Fast forward to the following June, and there was a shock omission from Brown's World Cup squad, with talkSPORT's very own Ali McCoist left out entirely. 35 years old at the time, he'd scored 15 for Rangers that season. McCoist would describe being left out as the biggest disappointment of his career, and he's still not got over it.
Absolutely battered.
Craig Brown would later describe that decision as a huge regret and apologised. The tournament itself was a celebratory one off the pitch. No Scotland, no party after all. On the pitch, though, it was pretty uninspiring. Scotland opened the tournament against defending champions Brazil. John Collins scored an equaliser from the penalty spot before a Tommy Boyd own goal cruelly snatched what would have been a famous point. Scotland did draw their next game against Norway with an impressive effort from Craig Burley, meaning they then needed to beat Morocco to have any chance of reaching the knockout stages of a major competition for the first time ever. Expectation was high, but Scotland lost 3-0. Among the goals, Jim Leighton unfortunately lobbing himself after palming a point-blank shot into his own net. Scotland's World Cup song Don't Come Home Too Soon by Delamitri ringing in their ears, the Tartan Army made their way home not knowing they wouldn't be back at the World Cup for another 28 years. C'est la vie. And that's the best French 90s pop Scotland World Cup outro line you'll see or hear in any coverage ever.
Well, the World Cup is getting closer. England need to rev up their engines. talkSPORT is here for it. Live from Orlando in Florida, USA. It's kickoff on talkSPORT. Well, welcome to Florida. This show is live on the talkSPORT YouTube channel. You can check out the glory of Orlando if you check us out on YouTube and on your smart TV. You can see Orlando behind us if you are watching. I'm Adrian Durham. With me is talkSPORT England commentator Jim Proudfoot. 12 years on England commentary duty for talkSPORT. How do you feel, Jim? You all right?
It's such a privilege to do the job, isn't it? It's just fantastic. 12 years. It feels like 12 years. Seeing some real highs and the odd low along the way as well.
Yeah, it's not been too bad. The former England captain Stuart Pearce played for England's under-21s for the first time in 1986, has been involved in the England national team as a player, coach or commentator pretty much ever since. Stuart, that's 40 years of England involvement. How has that affected you? Has it had an impact?
I was going to say man and boy, but it was probably man and very, very old man instead. You know what I mean? Sadly,
but a privilege again. I mean, it's you've covered it from as a player and as a coach, and now watching on for talkSPORT as well. You've had all those angles covered.
Yeah, which, to be fair, I've really enjoyed coming at it from all different angles. Yes, we all want to play in World Cups, but to actually come and see the other side of things, being part of a media setup and whatever. I think this is my 4th World Cup now for talkSPORT, which is incredible. But listen, I just enjoy the environment. Whatever you come at it, it's the World Cup, you know. It comes once every 4 years. It's something we remember for the rest of our lives.
Oh, yeah, absolutely is. Me, Stu and Jim are your England team for talkSPORT at this World Cup. We were in Tampa first off. We arrived in Orlando via the Kennedy Space Center, which we may get into later on. We did that yesterday. And we're now in Orlando, which is where England face Costa Rica on Wednesday in their last warm-up game before the World Cup proper gets underway. England's first game isn't until next Wednesday, but the first game of this World Cup is Thursday in Mexico as they face South Africa. And listen, I've got to start with this question for both of you. Jim, first of all, how confident are you that England are going to win the World Cup?
I think it's more likely that they don't win the World Cup than they do. But I think there are 48 teams here. I think 6 could win the World Cup. I think 42 of them have no chance. And I think England are one of the 6 that could win it. I don't think they're top of the list of that 6 by any stretch of the imagination, but I do think that they have a live chance of being able to win this competition. They are going to need some luck in running. It's not an easy draw once you get to the round of 16, with the potential of having Mexico away, then Brazil, then Argentina. It will be difficult, and you could do with some shocks maybe in the other half of the draw as well. But I do think England have a live chance of winning the competition.
Stuart?
Yeah, I was asked before the tournament, obviously, did I think they could win it? The answer I'd have to come back with no, and it pains me to do so, would be no. I think the climate, the travelling and everything will take its cost eventually. But I've got to say, if we do navigate a Mexico on Mexican soil and a victory in Miami against Brazil, which we think maybe that might be the route, as Jim mentioned, I'll start to get excited then, because I think there's 2 massive tests that we'll put behind us. And at that stage, we're into a semi-final situation, and then it's fair game, and you reassess whether you think we can or we can't, or how the team are looking. But I get quite excited for the journey. The anticipation really excites me.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we're going to see some great games along the way. We'll see some maybe fairly average games along the way. There is some breaking news from the World Cup, and it's that Adrian Timber, the Arsenal defender, is out of the World Cup for the Netherlands with a groin injury. Luciano Geertruida of Sunderland has been called up in his place. Listen, Geertruida's had a good season. Jim Proudfoot, you did a lot of Sunderland games, but that weakens the Netherlands, no doubt.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Adrian Timber is a fine player. And we saw from Arsenal the last few weeks of the season that they're a better team when he's in than when he's not. That's not meant with any disrespect to anybody else. But Timber's very much Arsenal's number 1, and he is an integral part of that Dutch squad as well. And Luciano Geertruida, a good player, without any shadow of a doubt, but he's not Adrian Timber. Yeah,
weakens them, doesn't it? And I think some people, Stuart, fancied the Netherlands to go far.
Well, they're a team that no one in my circle, no one's really talked about the Netherlands of going a fair way in the tournament, and I think that just probably lends itself to the fact that it's a pretty wide open World Cup, I think, you know, and we might get a few surprises. You know, 1 or 2 of us have talked about maybe Japan or Senegal going who've impressed us in friendlies against us. So I think maybe it might be one of those, a really open World Cup this time round.
And I mean, the first game that the Dutch have got is Japan, which is a game that we will be at in Dallas. And that will be so important. I don't fancy the Dutch. I don't fancy them at all. I think Japan are going to win that group, even without Karen Mitoma. I think that Japan will get out of it. That will then mean that the Dutch could end up playing against Brazil, so it will have huge ramifications. But I'm quite keen on Japan to have a half-decent run in this competition. I think that's a tough start for the Dutch. So they're not one of the 6 that I think are going to win it.
Well, that's the breaking news. Adrian Timber's out of the World Cup. Let's get back to England, because all 3 of us were at the game in Tampa against New Zealand. And, I mean, a question is, what did we learn from it? And I'm not sure there was a huge amount to learn. Stuart, what did you make of the game? When you reflect on that game, what are you thinking about it?
I don't think there was too many standout performances within the group. Ngamoa played extremely well and come in and be part of that. Credit to him. No pressure on him, but he went out and played with a freedom, which was good and a real plus for English football. You know Harry Kane will score you a goal and win you a game, even if he doesn't have a lot of the ball on occasion, and that was the case once again. We didn't create enough free-scoring chances for my liking in the game against a team that were probably there to be sort of put on the back foot as such. But no injuries. Everyone's got their minutes that he needed to get their minutes. You've still got the Arsenal boys coming in to supplement what we've got as well. So I think from Thomas Tuchel's point of view, a little bit disappointed with the fact that we didn't get a couple more goals on the scoreboard. You're always looking to do that. But the other side of that is as well, no injuries, really important, and the players have got a feel for this climate and the weather and what it's going to take.
I think that we've got a fair idea what the starting 11 is going to be, what Thomas Tuchel would like it to be. There were 2 or 3 positions we weren't sure about, and I know that we will touch on this later, but I think that maybe a couple of things became a little bit more clear in our mind. I now think for the first time, I've never thought that he would go with Bellingham ahead of Rodgers, but I do think that he might now. And I think that Marcus Rashford seems to be some way ahead of Anthony Gordon probably at the moment, playing on the left-hand side. So I don't think it was anything other than a worthwhile exercise. It was the kind of game we all expected it to be. I don't think it was ever likely to be a match where England stuck 3 past New Zealand in the first half and 3 or 4 in the second, even though that they struggled against Haiti. The most important thing was getting minutes into legs. It's going to be a much more worthwhile test across town from here on Wednesday against Costa Rica. But I do think that Rashford is ahead of Gordon now on the left, and I've got a sneaking suspicion that he's going to go with Bellingham.
We'll get back to the number 10 debate in a moment. I'm going to big up Jim Proudfoot here, because for months you've been saying John Stones will be at the World Cup. I didn't think he would. He is here, and it looks like he might even start at the World Cup. Is that going to happen? He
might do. I don't know. I'm still... I mean, I was pretty sure... you and I don't disagree with much, but we did have differing opinions on that. And I'm only saying that because I can't remember the last time I was right and you were wrong. So I've got to take my victories when they're there.
Quite the shout, though.
I don't know. I think he could go with Ezri Konsa. I can't make up my mind really who he plays there. And he might look at it that he sees John's experience in tournaments as being something that he wants to call upon. So he might, if he's fully fit, play some of the later games in the tournament potentially. I don't know. I can't call that. It wouldn't surprise me either way.
OK, very quickly on the number 10 debate. We will get back to the number 10 debate, but Bellingham or Rodgers is the question. So just names, please. Stuart, first of all, who would you pick and who do you think Tuchel will pick?
Rodgers.
OK, Jim?
Bellingham.
Yeah, I'm Bellingham as well, but I've changed my mind too on that. I thought it was Rodgers up until the weekend. Listen, we'll expand on all of that very shortly, but let's take in a game that's going on tonight. A year ago, France lost 5-4 in the Nations League semi-final to Spain. A few days ago, they lost 2-1 to the Ivory Coast in France, and the French are still on home soil as they take on Northern Ireland tonight. Watched by talkSPORT's Ian Abrams.
Yeah, that defeat to Ivory Coast was a real shock. They play in Lille tonight against Northern Ireland. William Saliba does take his place at centre-half, and the front 4 of Elise, Dembele and Doué just behind Mbappe up front should put fear into Northern Ireland. Charles brothers both play. Charles in goal, Pearce Charles that is. Hugh McConville and Brown across the back. Spencer, Shea Charles, McCann and Devaney across midfield. Kelly and Price behind Jamie Donnelly up front. Guinea, they beat 1-0 on Thursday, Northern Ireland. This is a step up, and I hope, Jim, one of your 6 to win the World Cup is France, and they do all right tonight. It's France against Northern Ireland in Lille.
Is it?
Yeah. I'm not sticking my neck on the line too much to say that France might win the World Cup.
Yeah, I mentioned 2 defeats a year ago against Spain and last week against Ivory Coast. They've won a lot of games in the meantime as well, the French. I'm not ruling them out by any stretch. Listen, we're giving you the chance to win a trip to the 2026 FIFA World Cup, courtesy of Adidas. You and a mate could be in New York, June 27th, seeing England versus Panama live. We've got your flights, hotel, spending money, match tickets, and the official try on the match ball all covered as part of it. Head to talksportwin.com to enter and for full T's and C's now.
lot actually has been made of Jude Bellingham and his role in this World Cup. Many thought Thomas Tuchel would give him the captain's armband in the second half, and that meant he's back in favour. However, he's actually facing a fight to make the starting 11. After I mean, I'd be stunned, but Thomas Tuchel said this after the game about Bellingham. He's one of the starters. He knows he's one of the starters, but we have 14 or 15 potential starters. Yeah. These roles can always change, but at the moment, I think there are like 14 or 15 prepper starters, and Jude is one of them. Would he say that about Harry Kane?
Yeah, but I think he's right, though. Everyone's looking for a story here. Bellingham's not going to start. So what? Bellingham has got experience. Already played in 3 tournaments. This is his 4th tournament. 3 goals, 2 assists in major tournaments. He's got the experience. But if he doesn't start, so what? It's not a big deal. Morgan Rogers has been in outstanding form for Aston Villa. And I'm sure by the end of the tournament, whenever England go out, if they win it, Jude Bellingham would have played a big role. But if he does start, he knows he's got to be at it. Because you've got someone like Rodgers and Eze who are there to try and take your spot.
You say it's not a big deal, and I agree, it's not a big deal.
Not for me.
But you want your best player starting, and I would say Jude Bellingham's better than Morgan Rogers.
Of course, yeah.
What happened there?
Different players for me. I like Jude Bellingham, but I love the way Morgan Rogers. He's running
better. If you're going to pick one in out of 10, who are you picking?
I can't call it.
Why?
I think they both offer something different. In certain games, you'd have Bellingham. In certain games, you'd have Rodgers. But Bellingham could start against Croatia, and what if he's quiet?
Yeah.
Rodgers comes on, plays out of his skin, and has a good performance. Starts the next game.
It's a nice problem to have, right?
Yeah, exactly.
What I like about Thomas Tuchel is the fact that, and you've got to keep footballers on their feet. You can't. In theory, no one's guaranteed. Yeah. If you ask him about Pickford, he'd probably say the same. Although we all know
who is guaranteed.
What?
Pickford, Rice, and Kane.
It's talkSPORT live from the States on the talkSPORT YouTube channel and your smart TV as well. It's coming up to 2:20 here in Orlando, Florida. If you are watching us, you can see Orlando in the background. I'm Adrian Durham with our England commentator, Jim Proudfoot, our former England captain, Stuart Pearce, as well. Stuart, have we enjoyed America so far? You've been here ages, haven't you?
I've been here a week today. It's been absolutely fantastic. Plenty of driving. Been down in the Keys area, then up through Naples. Had an evening with David Moyes, which was lovely to see him and Pam, his wife. And then up we come to sort of Tampa, Orlando, Cape Canaveral yesterday. So we're making the most of it at the moment. We've got the first game under our belt as well, the New Zealand game, which was fantastic. And we're just getting into the swing of things, aren't we?
You've done a proper Florida tour already, haven't you?
And you've been in me in the boot of my car as well, so come on now.
Yeah, I think that's a crime, to be honest. But I have survived. But
in certain states it is, in not all of them,
The great thing about being in your boot was I couldn't get attacked by the sun. So that's the main thing for me. I've actually done quite well. We've been here since Wednesday. We flew over together, Jim Proudfoot and I. And we started in Tampa. We went to the Kennedy Space Center yesterday. And now in Orlando, we're off to Miami later on in the tournament as well. So, and I've never been to Florida before, actually, and you have about 1 million times, haven't you?
No, not quite 1 million. I have been before. I love it.
He's talking about retiring out here.
I love it.
I don't know if your wife's listening, but he is talking about retiring out here.
Where we are staying at the moment is idyllic. It is like being on the set of the Truman Show, isn't it? It's just marvellous.
I don't think Truman found that idyllic in the end, did he?
Well, not in the end, but give me 25 years.
Yeah, it's but
give it a go.
It's absolutely terrific. And in terms of the heat, a lot has been made of the heat
by you mostly,
mainly me. But actually, I haven't found it that bad. I'm aware of it, and people like me can cover up. But in terms of like playing games, I think at times, Stuart, there's been a cooling breeze, and it's actually been lovely.
I think that's the beauty of getting acclimatised to it. You know, we've been here a sort of week or just less in some cases, and all of a sudden that first day walking out the airport, it's stifling. All of a sudden 2 days, 3 days down the line, and the same will apply to the players. Once you get training in it, it becomes the normal. And as I say, that's why that game the other day will be brilliant for them, just to get a game under their belt or half a game under their belt. And then the more they do, by the time they finish this World Cup, the temperatures will be normal, not as stifling as they were on day one.
They'll be freezing when they go back home. Actually, this is one of the things that surprised me about France, who are playing tonight in France. They aren't out here yet. I know they came in March for a couple of friendlies, which they won them both. One was against Brazil. But they are still at home, and that surprised me a little bit. They kick off their World Cup the day before England start theirs. And talking of how there was a cooling breeze at times when England were playing against New Zealand on Saturday, we can actually get the lowdown on that from our England correspondent, Faye Carruthers, who's actually in Fort Lauderdale right now, near Palm Beach, where England are staying. But Faye, you were pitch side in Tampa for that New Zealand game, and I know you were very, very hot at the time. It was a difficult one for you, but probably not. Was it as bad as you thought it might be?
No, I think everybody else was more worried about it than I was, to be honest. I just go back to Euro 2020, and we had those scorching temperatures that summer, if you remember. And the game against Croatia, I was 6 months pregnant and pitch side, and that was ridiculous and probably much worse. Incidentally, the next game was against Scotland, and it hammered it down with rain. And I think that's what we might get in Orlando for the second warm-up game as well, because rain and thunderstorms are expected. It's just a job. It is always hotter pitch side, and there's no shade, particularly in that stadium, the Raymond James that we were at. There was no shade, there was no escaping it for the whole time. And I did just have a look with Jordan Pickford when he was warming up, and he looked at me and just kind of wiped his brow and gave me a smile, because the first week acclimatising has been hot for us fairer individuals, shall I say.
Yeah, he actually was very red, wasn't he? He needs to get the factor 50 or plus on him. And in fact, actually, Thomas Tuchel before that game was talking about how the weather hasn't been as harsh as he'd expected it to be or wanted it to be. So it's going to be fascinating on Wednesday, and you're right, thunderstorms are forecast, which could mean a delay to the game. Depends what how severe those storms are, but that's going to be an interesting one come Wednesday.
Yeah, it is. But actually, I think it's good preparation for England in many ways because of the protocols that FIFA have in place that we saw at the Club World Cup. It's going to be, in a way, good for the players to experience what could happen to them in the tournament if, for some reason, the game gets, delayed because when there's a lightning strike in particular, you cannot take back to the field of play for half an hour after that last lightning strike. So, it could be good practice in many ways. I will get soaked, but don't worry about me. I've still got the best seat in the house where I am.
Yeah, we don't worry about you. That's no problem for us. Listen, Morgan Rogers, Jude Bellingham is an interesting conversation that's being had ahead of England's World Cup starting next week. You are very close to these players. You're with them all the time. You're with them right now. You talk to Thomas Tuchel a lot. Bellingham as captain in the second half on Saturday was a little sign, possibly. Certainly people were reading some things into that. But from what you've gathered, whether it's through body language or what's being said or what Thomas has said to you in interviews, are you thinking it's Rodgers or Bellingham to start in the 10?
Well, yeah, I think we all know that. He said himself that they're the two players competing for that position, and then of course you've got Eberechi Eze that can play there additionally as well, and has done for England before. So I think the reason people are looking at that head-to-head, if you like, is A, they're really good friends, Morgan Rogers and Jude Bellingham, and B, Jude Bellingham has been out injured for quite a while, and so he hasn't cemented his place in the squad as we know he would do in normal circumstances. And Morgan Rogers has been given the nod ahead of Jude because Jude's not been available to play. But it was interesting after the game because I asked him about whether we should read into anything that Jude was given the captain's armband. He said he had the most caps of all the players at 22. I think that was his 47th cap. So that tells a story in itself, but he also talked about the fitness and the sweet spot, as he described it, that Jude's hitting at the moment. Because he's been out for a while and only just been coming back in, he's actually had a decent amount of rest, whereas you look at the minutes that Morgan Rogers has played, and he did look a little bit tired, I thought, out there, as you would expect, winning a Europa League final, the amount of minutes that he's played for Aston Villa this season. So with that in mind, I wonder whether Jude might start. start against Croatia when we get to that first game, but I think we'll have a little bit more knowledge when we see, because they don't want to give the team away, by the way, so I don't think we're going to see the exact starting 11 against Costa Rica in the warm-up game, because he doesn't want to give the team fully away. Equally, he really needs to bring the Arsenal players into the fold additionally, and Declan Rice is going to be vice-captain, by the way, not Jude Bellingham. He announced that as well after the game, so I'm wondering whether we might speak to one of the Arsenal guys at West Palm Beach tomorrow when we do our matchday -1, and possibly even, because he's been named vice captain, we may hear from Declan Rice.
How many players do you feel as though might be, with the performances against Costa Rica, might be able to play themselves into his starting lineup in this first game? Because I probably think that he's got at least maybe a minimum of 8 that he knows he's going to pick.
Yeah, without a doubt. And, you know, he's always said consistently he's got 14, 15 players that are starters, in his opinion. He's got other players that are impact players that will come on and change the game if they need it. You know, he's mentioned that before. So, yeah, there's competition for places. And, you know, also we've talked a lot about the left wing position and Marcus Rashford and Anthony Gordon. And it was interesting because I think I misheard Thomas Tuchel when he did the interview with me. I thought he'd said to me that he preferred the first half to the second half, and then he'd said to other outlets he preferred the second half to the first half, but it was just me not hearing. He had actually said he preferred the second half to the first half, and I think the reason I got confused with him saying that is because I thought we had more chances in that first half against New Zealand and looked a little bit zippier, but he disagreed. And Rio Ngamoa, of course, was a shining light on that right hand side, but I thought Marcus Rashford played brilliantly. What he was frustrated about, I think, is not taking the chances that they did create in that first half, and the finishing was definitely off, and whether that pitch had something to do with that, because I've been watching the shooting drills both when we've been there at the training camp, watching them in close proximity, and then some of the footage that's coming out of the camp additionally, and they're all on point with their shooting, in particular Harry Kane, who, you know, Thomas Tuchel said to me when he announced the squad that he's just incredible in training, always aims for the side netting, the inside of the side netting in the goal, to make it near on impossible for the keeper to get it, and every single time he did that in training. And Rashford and Gordon as well, really on form. And I said to Aid the other day, Marcus Rashford is looking the best I've seen him in a long time. He looks lean, he looks fit, he looks relaxed, and he looks really up for this.
Faye, great to talk to you. Take care in the sun. Thank you very much. Faye Carruthers is with the England camp for talkSPORT all the way through the tournament. Quick one on the finishing, Stuart Pearce, because it was something you and Jim said in commentary. The finishing was not good. Was that solely down to the pitch, or maybe a little bit of rustiness, or what?
Well, when you've got players of that standard continually across the board, many players missing the target by a country mile that they did in a game like that, you do wonder, because they created chances for themselves, good chances, whether it be Rashford, Rodgers and the like. And I think I can only remember probably Gordon cutting inside on his right and getting a target which went straight at the goalkeeper but made him work. You've got to half put it down to the pitch a little bit and say, well, maybe they were just getting used to the pitch, and just as you're striking it, if there's an odd movement on the ball.
But that is a worry, because some of the playing surfaces that England will be playing on will be this difficult hybrid on top of an American sports much harder ground surface. So that part of it was a worthwhile test as well, something that England have got to get used to. But the finishing was certainly awry. Watkins and Toney both squandering decent chances in good positions by the kind of distance that it was just unfeasible, really.
Yeah, and I think as well, the pitches might be of a similar ilk going forward, but players are clever. They pick up and say, I'm going to take an extra touch to get clarity on my finish. So I don't think it'll be, oh, the pitch was bad this time, we missed the chances. Going forward, if the pitch is of the same ilk, we're going to miss those chances. They won't. Players at this level are clever, so they take an extra touch if needed and make sure there's clarity on the finish.
Yeah, it's interesting. If you've encountered talkSPORT's S Word, you check it out on Instagram. There's a great clip that went out today, and the hosts Will Gavin and the American Master Tesfassian were talking about the state of the pitches, and they were actually offended. The English fans were complaining about the state of the pitch. They were saying that when it gets to the World Cup, the pitches are going to be absolutely fine. So we'll put that to the test. But you can check out the S Word on talkSPORT's Instagram. Follow it up from there. We're live in Orlando at Tom's Watch Bar on the top floor. Next, we're speaking to a former England player who received his legacy cap in Tampa at the weekend.
He was brought in to win the World Cup. It is all or nothing. You either win the World Cup or you don't. Now, actually, it might be black or white for a lot of people. I think there's a little bit of greyness in there. If he gets through to the semi-final and loses unluckily against Argentina or Portugal for some reason, or gets to the final as well, I think that's okay in these conditions. But there will be a lot of people who will say, well, you didn't do this, you didn't take Cole Palmer, Morgan Gibbs-White, Harry Maguire, Lewis Hall. You know, you made these decisions with the Arsenal boys. Do you know what? It's all about winning football matches now. And in that sense, even though I haven't been in total agreement with him, I'm behind him.
Thomas Tuchel all the way for Scott Minto.
Not quite.
What's the minimum then? I know you said he was brought in to win the World Cup.
What's
the minimum that he has to achieve for you?
Do you know what? So for the 2022 World Cup, I thought, you know what, we've got a real good chance here. And Hugo Lloris said if Harry Kane had stuck that penalty away, England would have beaten us, and who knows what would have happened after that. The 2024 Euros, I thought going into it, I thought we've got a great chance here, and we kind of laboured our way through to the final. Genuinely, with this competition, I've got no idea. Because we could easily get to the final, because I think we are one of the best teams, and we could evolve as the tournament goes on, but then there's half a dozen who could as well. Or we could play Mexico in Mexico City with the heat, humidity, altitude. Graham Souness once told me, he was captain of Scotland in '86. He said, your body does three things in the altitude. One, you can handle it.
We've all seen one of these before, right? The old heavy leather book. No, not that one. That one. Used in World Cups and football as a whole for years back in the day. It's a far cry from modern balls made from synthetic materials, full of sensors for VAR and goal line technology. So when did the switch happen? Up until 1970, it was generally the rule of thumb that the host nation would provide the ball. The balls were always made from leather, usually with a vulcanized rubber interior, the same stuff they make tennis balls from. But in rainy and muddy conditions, the ball would absorb loads, and it was like playing with a brick. In 1970, Adidas were tasked with creating their first ball, and they came up with this icon, the Telstar. Despite its new, sleek look, it was a handful for goalkeepers and pretty unpleasant to head with. So in 1974, Adidas came out with the Telstar Durlast, the first synthetically coated ball that would be resistant to water and mud, and generally wouldn't wear as badly. The next major breakthrough came during the 2022 World Cup in Qatar, where Adidas placed an alien-like sensor in the middle of the ball, tracking every touch at 500 hertz to aid referees in offside decisions and handball calls. But in essence, it's the same ball developed by Adidas over 40 years ago.
We started singing bye, bye, Miss American Pie. Drove my Chevy to the levee, but the levee was dry.
Right, any song that's got America or USA in it, that you're going to hear it tonight. Okay, so
That's two good ones.
well, they're not bad. Not bad. It's 25 to 8 your time in the evening, and 5 hours behind you here. Live in Orlando, I'm Adrian Durham, Jim Proudfoot, our England commentator, and Stuart Pearce, a former England captain. This is your England team on talkSPORT throughout this World Cup. Let's bring in a former England player. Played for Man City, Fulham, QPR, my old partner on Drive on talkSPORT. He also played in the States, and he's now lived out in Florida for some time. Rodney Marsh, it is so good to have you on the show. How are you doing?
Hello, boys. Hello, everybody. It's 90 degrees here in Tampa, not a cloud in the sky. Oh, hello, Radio Land. How is everybody? And what did you make of the game on the weekend at Tampa Stadium?
Stuart?
I think we've seen better. It was a physical workout, probably, Rodney, the best we can say about it. But they didn't put New Zealand under the cosh how we were hoping and expecting.
Yeah. Well, I thought it was like a training game that didn't really need to be in the stadium. I think it could have been on a training ground. I didn't get much out of it. I didn't learn much out of it. But other than the fact, by the way, I did get my legacy cap on the field, and I looked at on the field in Tampa Stadium. They've got this thermometer at halfway line. It was 104 degrees on the field. Wow.
That's hot. So you were down on the field getting your legacy cap, Rodney, and congratulations on that. And it's amazing they had a game in Tampa. You didn't have to go far for it. You didn't have to come back to Wembley or anything, but you were down there on the field. And the fact that nobody got injured as well, when we talk about it in those terms, well, the great thing is nobody got injured. I think that tells you what kind of game it was. So are you saying England could have done without that game?
Well, no, because it's a training game, and you want to have training games before the opening game of the World Cup. Was another thing that's interesting, by the way, and also I did notice watching the game live that several players, especially at the back, several players kept on pulling out of challenges. So I thought, well done, boys, very clever. But the game in Dallas, and I haven't got a clue. You guys will, because you do your research. I don't. My Grumpy Pundit show on Sirius XM we do every day. I don't do much research. I never did, Adrian, did I? But the first game,
it's fair to say,
the first game in Dallas, they've got a roof, and I don't know who decides whether the roof is on or off. Do you guys?
I love the way that you're all looking at me. Hi, Rod.
Well, you're a commentator.
It is gonna... yeah, it's 10 days away, Rodney. You know the way that I roll. It's just forget about it until we get there. I think it is going to be shut. I mean, it needs to be shut at the height of day. I would imagine that, bearing in mind it's a match between two European teams, I think that they will both be very, very happy with it being shut.
I think it's got to be an agreement between the managers.
Yeah, it's not going to favour either of them for it to be open. I mean, Croatia's best player is nearly 41. He is going to want it shut.
Let's open it.
So I'm pretty sure it'll be shut.
What do you think, Rod?
Well, in the NFL, in the football, they open and shut it based on the weather. You know, whether it's going to be windy or rainy and stuff like that. But in soccer, as we all know, it's much more of a technical game, and the pitch is much more important than the conditions are. So I think it's probably going to be closed. Something, guys, I don't know if you know about this, but on our show that we do, we've been getting reports that the government of America. There's 78 games in the United States over the course. The American government has got anti-drone missiles at every stadium in case there's drone attacks at the stadiums. And I thought that was a little bit interesting to come out today.
I think it's fascinating. I'm not necessarily sure I'm against it. You don't want drones stopping play. So if there's something to counter that, then maybe that's a good idea, Stuart.
Listen, security is everything at these high-profile tournaments, no doubt about that. Rodney, I've got to say to you, I was born in Shepherd's Bush, and my family are QPR fans, and I had the pleasure of watching you at QPR and setting the place alight down there. Is there anyone in this current England side that you look at and thought they've got the tools that you had to get you excited and off your seat as a fan now?
No. I would say that I'm very surprised that Phil Foden or Cole Palmer didn't get a spot on the roster. That kind of surprised me. You know, when you have to play a minimum of 7 games in the World Cup to go all the way. And I said this in 2006, by the way. I hope Jim remembers it. Probably forgot all about it. But during a 7-game run, if you're going to go all the way, there's going to come times, Stuart, you'll know this, there's going to come times where it ain't going well for you, where you're not winning 2-0, and it might be 0-0, it might be 1-1, and it might be the last 15 minutes, and it could come 3 games in, 4 games in, 5 games in. You're going to need a player off the bench that's going to come in and is going to do a little bit of special magic and maybe win the game for you. Now, as I look at it now, I don't know if you guys agree with this, I think that player that Thomas Tuchel's got now is Eze. Am I right?
Well, I don't think we expect him to start, but certainly there's an expectation, there's an impact from him, that's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, do you think, Rod, that by and large, I mean, you talked about no Palmer, no Foden, do you think it is all too functional now? When you've got a 26-man roster, that there is room for players who haven't been in great form, but who you know at club level on their day can change things. Do you think he's got the balance completely wrong?
Not completely wrong, but I'll tell you what, and this is another thing for debate. We're going to be debating this on our show tomorrow here in America, on Sirius XM 157, if you can get it. We're going to be debating. I look at when I look at teams, and I use Terry Venables as a great example of this. Terry used to pick teams based on triangles, you know, little triangles who could play together, and and I've got my triangles, not very good by the way, but I've got my triangles as being Rashford, Kane, and Bellingham, and I've got Rice, Nico O'Reilly and Gahey, Pickford in goal, and other than that, that's my sort of outlook. Other than that, I'm not too sure about my starting lineup.
Well, there's questions, and we'll go through the starting lineup a little bit later. Just running out of time, Rodney, I want to ask you a couple of quick ones. First of all, how do you think the USA will go on?
I think they get through. I think Australia will become the whipping boys. And I think USA goes through.
And what about Scotland?
Good old Scotland, yes. Well, I don't know. I look at Scotland as being a little bit half empty and half full. I'm hoping they get through because... and I'd just like to wish Alan Brazil, by the way. I heard Alan Brazil's not been well, and just like to offer Alan Brazil my love, and you know, hope he's doing okay.
We'll pass that on to Alan. He's on the mend, I can tell you. He was on the breakfast show recently. He's on the mend, but there's a bit of recovery work to do. So we'll definitely pass that on. It's a lovely thought, Rodney, and so great to talk to you. Thanks for coming on and joining us.
My pleasure. See you, Radio Land.
Take care, Rod.
Cheers, mate.
Rodney Marsh, who was on drive in that 2006 World Cup. Me and him did drive to get together. Always called the listeners Radio Landed. Just genius. Unpredictable, unprepared and unpredictable. That was Rodney Marsh.
That was him on a football pitch. I wouldn't say he's unprepared. He was prepared, but my goodness, he was one of a clutch of players at his time, you know, with Alan Hudson and the like, Frank Worthington.
Stan Bowles.
Entertainers, real entertainers.
Yeah, but they were, and listen, Rodney's not with us at the moment. He's switched off, if you like. 9 England caps, 1 goal for England. But the talent that he had, and it's the same with all of those, they didn't really get enough caps. Tony Curry, another one. All of those players didn't really get enough caps. There was no room for Mavericks, even though at club level they all performed.
Well, we might say that now in this squad. You know, with Cole Palmer at home, Foden at home, you might turn around, are they the modern-day Mavericks of a team. Who knows?
Yeah, interesting. Now, talkSPORT have teamed up with Meantime to create a lager in time for the World Cup. It's called So Good Lager. It'll be poured from all O'Neill's pubs and some of the best sports pubs across the UK. So, whether you're watching the action this summer or settling in for an afternoon with your mates, make sure you check out talksport.com/sogood to find your nearest pub. 18 plus. Please drink responsibly. We're live in Orlando at Tom's Watch Bar. Next, we're speaking to Tom Concannon from the Free Lions Group to give some insight into what fans are experiencing out here in the USA. You've played a lot of football in Thailand, of course. Are you there now? Or are you in LA? I can't work out where you are.
I'm in LA at the minute, but I played the last season in Thailand.
Yeah. What's the humidity out there for you? How much of a sort of not an eye opener was it? But you can't really prepare for that unless you're out there, right?
You can't really prepare for it, and you don't really get used to it. There's not a time in the whole season where I thought, right, now I'm used to the conditions. It's how can I adapt my game to be able to survive? Am I going to have to time my runs? Am I going to have to dribble once and then keep it simple? Am I going to have to defensively? Am I going to have to know when and where to press? Because I can't go every time. And I think that's what the England guys are going to have. It's a similar conditions, probably not as hot, but that's what the guys are going to have to figure out over the two friendly games is I can't go every time. I'm going to have to choose my moments. And I think we saw in New Zealand, even like the Anthony Gordons and the Ollie Watkins, who are go, go, go. Even those guys were choosing their moments. Ngamoa played very well on the right, but he didn't go 1v1 every time. He kept it simple sometimes. And that's the way it's going to have to be.
It's a weird feeling, isn't it, Andros? I remember going to Hong Kong quite a lot pre-season tours, and you can't breathe, can you? It's like you're trying to sprint and you feel like you're going to like pass out from not being able to breathe. Do you think that the manager will have to make sure he's using the squad in this World Cup? You know, in those games where you're playing in those conditions, even the game, when we get to the last 16, if that's Mexico in Mexico City, he has to use a squad of players, doesn't he?
Yeah, 100%, Gabby. And I think that's why we spoke about the wingers he has. There's probably no real difference in a Gordon or a Rashford or a Saka or a Madueke or Harry Kane. He's tied after 60 minutes. We've got the pace of Ollie Watkins who can terrorise teams. So we've got the strength in depth. I think it's only really France that can rival.
It's another America song. It's another good one as well. They've all been good so far. It's talkSPORT live from Florida. We're live in Orlando, which is where the second of the two England warm-up games is going to be played against Costa Rica on Wednesday. I'm Adrian Durham. Jim Proudfoot, our England commentator, is with us. So too an England legend, Stuart Pearce. And we have from the Free Lions Group, the FSA, the Football Supporters Association, Tom Concannon. How you doing?
I'm really good, thank you.
Thanks for joining us. When did you get out here?
I got here yesterday. I was slightly delayed. I ended up in hospital last week, so I had to reschedule my flight. So, yeah, I missed the Tampa game, but I'm here now.
We can assure everybody he's okay. He's going to be fine. He's fit for the first game. He's fit for the warm-up game as well. Yeah, I presume you saw the Tampa game. What did you make of it?
It was a pre-World Cup friendly. It's probably the best way to describe it, wasn't it? Yeah, it wasn't great, but.
What have you heard then in terms of the football fans that are out, the England fans that are out here? There's a lot of stories of England fans and many fans being priced out of this World Cup. Is that the reality?
I think it is, yeah. Whilst the numbers are still pretty decent that we brought out here, the allocations weren't huge. It doesn't look like we've sold out a single game, which is unlike England in sort of North America. We should be selling out. It's just clear that people are being priced out. It was the most expensive tickets, obviously the ones probably that didn't sell. We should have been here in our thousands and we're not, unfortunately.
Have you heard any news that maybe going into the tournament and the prices might drop at all? Is there anything from your side that you've heard?
It does look like that's a possibility. It's happening at certain games
Yep.
because you've got this dynamic pricing model. So, there is certain games where the prices are dropping. We haven't seen that too much with England yet. But that's not to say it might not. It tends to fluctuate a lot when the closer to the game you get. Sure. So it is a possibility. But, yeah, we disagree with the dynamic ticket pricing anyway because England fans who did purchase in advance have paid a fortune. It doesn't feel right that anyone is able to get a cheap ticket at this stage when so many fans have already paid an absolute fortune,
The game in Dallas, the first game for England against Croatia, I've been told, we had, Jim and I had dinner with Andy Milne, the England superfan, who's selling his house to come to this World Cup. He's here from start to finish. It's incredible. But he was telling us that England's allocation was 4,000, just over 4,000, so to the Croatia allocation. And it's a gigantic stadium that they're in. Are we looking at a lot of empty seats? I mean, I've seen stories of 50,000 empty seats. From what you're hearing, is that going to be the case?
I suppose we don't know at this stage because there's not many seats available for the game itself. But there hasn't been a lot of transparency around the ticketing situation from FIFA in the build-up of this tournament. So who knows? It wouldn't be a surprise if we do see empty seats because some of the ticket prices are absolutely extortionate. You just think, who's paying that? And I think that's it'll be interesting to see next week when we get to Dallas as to whether that is the case or not, and how many of Croatia brought, and how many England fans eventually turn out.
And are you expecting all of the England fans, 4,000 or so, I think is the allocation, that you're all going to be together? Or even that you might be in sort of separate clutches throughout the stadium?
Yeah, so there is separate sort of categories. So you with that category, you get a different part of the stadium, but it is sort of at the same end, the sort of same corner of the ground. So we do anticipate we'll be together in that sense. And then there'll obviously be England fans that have managed to obtain tickets through FIFA that will be spread around the ground as well. That we always see at every tournament. There'll be England flags everywhere. It's just, but the England Supporters Travel Club allocation specifically will be in that one section, that one corner of the ground. Yeah.
What about the other stuff? Because Andy, again, he posted on Insta at the weekend that he'd bought a can of beer at Tampa, $20 for one can of beer. Now, we can all live without beer, but, it's part of the fan thing. You want a few beers with your mates and talk about the football and watch the football. But actually, water's costing a fortune. Now, can you even take water in? Apparently you can, but it's got to be a disposable. In this world where we're trying to save the planet, it's now disposable water bottles that are sealed that are allowed in to FIFA World Cup games. It's all a bit crazy, but all that extra expense in terms of food, drink, travel, accommodation, it all mounts up. You're talking, 5 figures here, over 10 grand easily.
It certainly feels like. I think it's very easy to, you've got your initial costs, your travel costs, your tickets, accommodation, everything else. But when you get here, you start to see the expense of everything else, the food, the 20% tip, and like we saw in Tampa the other day, the cost of just a bottle of water, $8. It's quite staggering prices. And this whole, faffle that we had with FIFA about, whether you can take a bottle of water in the ground. I mean, why are we even having these debates? It's just completely unnecessary, and it just drives total negative press ahead of a tournament, which just feels like that's all we've had in the build-up with this one.
Yeah, I've got to say, just a quick word on the tipping. We've found that as well. Tipping is obligatory. Yeah. Many people will know this anyway, that tipping is obligatory in the States, but I do wonder, Jim, you've been to the States a lot, what would happen if we didn't tip? Or if we just refused?
They wouldn't be very happy. And if you paid the bill and you hadn't written a tip on, I mean, a lot of it will come down on a card machine. When you're paying it, you're automatically given options, and you can technically say 0% as the tip, but they'd call you out on that without a shadow of a doubt, and would not be happy. It's the way it works. It is the price that you quoted isn't the price of it, and what they will say in the service industries here, that you should expect that you've got to add at least a 20% tip, and that is the price of your meal. If you can't afford the tip, you shouldn't be eating the meal. That is their way of doing it.
I went out with Jim the other day. We had dinner, and he actually went up to the waitress and said, "Have a drink on me," and give her a tea bag. That was the extent of his Tommy
That's
Cooper
our expenses for you.
That sounds about right.
Let me ask you this question. Are you quite happy with the form of the Toon players that are here representing England? And is there anyone from the Toon that should be here, in your opinion?
Oh, that's a good question. Probably Lewis Hall. I would back Lewis Hall massively. I think he had a great season. It was a shame that he didn't make it. I thought it was just more towards the end. He sort of fell out with the team a little bit, and I think from then it was probably difficult to get in. Happy with the lads that are here, obviously, with Dan Burn and Tino, but obviously, and formerly Anthony Gordon. But yeah, they've done a good job to get in the squad. But I think Lewis Hall's probably the one that I would, if I had to choose one, that would be him.
I mean, Tommy, you've seen a lot more of Tino than we have. Do you think he should be starting at right back ahead of Reece James, or would you not throw your hands up in horror if the decision is that James?
Yeah, it's a difficult one. I love Tino, I really do. I probably wouldn't start him because I just think he hasn't played a lot of football recently. He was injured towards the back end of the season. I'd be very surprised if he did start, but he's more than capable of doing it. I just think I'd be very surprised if he did.
Let's listen to a Scotland fan. Rang up Andy Goldstein and Gabby Agbonlahor on talkSPORT Breakfast this morning, and he was in the queue for the US Embassy after his visa had been rejected despite being previously approved. He explained how much he spent on his trip to the States.
Yeah, absolutely. It's well over 10 grand and not far away from 20. It's and I'll be honest with you, I've looked at insurance, and all the insurance companies say it's up to you to get your visa. It's up to you to get your rest in place. It's, that's fine. It was in place. Goodness sake.
Kenny, the visa they've now asked you to get, is it physically impossible for you to get that approved in the next 3 or 4 days?
It's looking that way. I really don't know. I mean, I asked my local MP and John Swinney on Friday to help me out here, and I don't know if they can do anything. I don't know if anyone can help, but right now it's not looking good.
Wow, that is some story. There's more on that in the Times. If you go to the Times online, you'll be able to check out more on that story. And generally, Tom, the visa situation, I mean, the advice early on was get it done early on, but he's had his done early on, and he's still struggling to get through and get out of here.
Yeah, it seemed to creep in quite late, where people that hadn't done it through the app and hadn't uploaded a selfie were the ones that were getting rejected ultimately, and then had to sort something else out. There's obviously other things that can come into play as well, but yeah, obviously at previous tournaments we've had things in place where there's visa waiver systems with Russia and Qatar. Obviously that's not in place here. It's more difficult when you've got 3 countries at play as well. Yeah, it was definitely a case you had to get things sorted early just in case you had any problems.
It's interesting about the visas as they stand now. The process has been quite quick now, which surprised me, because 2 years ago, because a stamp I've got in my passport, I had to go to the embassy for a meeting. This was in the January. I wanted to go in the March, and the first possible appointment they had was July.
Well,
from January. That was 2 years ago. And so the alarm bells were ringing for me when this World Cup was coming round. Are they going to process all these? But it seems you can go through the process. It's just afterwards when, well, for whatever reason, social media posts, I don't know what it is, but...
Well, there was one thing that FIFA did bring in, and it was like a FIFA pass, where you could sort of jump the queue a little bit if you were a country that needed to get a visa, or you were in a situation where you needed to get a visa and you had a match ticket, you could use their system and get a quicker appointment, because you're right, the appointment queue was months.
Yeah.
It was. Very, very quickly, are you going to miss Anthony Gordon?
I'll let you know. It depends who we buy.
You weren't one of those who wanted him to go then?
No, I liked Anthony Gordon, but I think it's actually a good deal for everyone. I think the price we got's all right, but it's all on who we replace him with. We had a terrible summer last summer, so they've got to do a good job this time round.
And we'll give a shout to your free Lions mag, which you give out every game. There's a new one every game, is there?
Yeah, it's printed fresh. It's fresh information for England fans that we hand out, and as you say, completely free as well. So
brilliant, Tom. Thanks for coming in. Appreciate it. Some good information there. And actually, if you are back home, getting ready to cheer England on this summer, a fresh batch of tickets for our World Cup fan zone in Birmingham have been released for only 15 quid all in. Join over 2,500 fans at the region's largest fan zone event to watch the action on the UK's biggest screen. We're bringing the ultimate matchday vibe with the talkSPORT Battle Bus. Gabby Agbonlahor is going to be there. What more do you want? Other presenters there as well. Massive DJ sets, including from Happy Mondays legend Bez. Head to talksport.com/fanzone right now for all the details.
So what do you think of Chelsea keeping hold of him? How important is he to Chelsea?
Well, he's everything. He's the star. He's only got 7 years left on his contract, so the power might
Time
be...
is running out. He's probably sweating over it right now.
The power might be with the owners, but actually it's not fully with the owners, because if you've got a player who so desperately wants to get out, that's a toxic situation to be in. Now, hopefully the owners will have made that statement with Xabi Alonso, and then will make more statements with the players that they bring in. So not just to Cole Palmer, but to Marc Cucurella. You have to say he's one of the best left backs in the world. You have to, as annoying as he might be, and I get it, even coming from a Chelsea angle, you want him in your side, not against you.
You do.
Enzo Fernandez, one of the cleverest, technically brilliant players, because he's not quick, but the way his first touch, his second touch, his pass awareness, and he gets into the box. You know, that Chelsea number 8, who someone else used to do that back in the day. He's not quite as good as Frank, but he can do it. This is an absolutely key summer for Chelsea in terms of not just trying to bring those good players in now to challenge for the Premier League and Champions League, but actually not lose your best players that you've got already.
They finished 10th, as you have mentioned already, a season way below standards for Chelsea. I mean, what will be the minimum then, do you think, that Xabi Alonso has to bring to Chelsea this season? Because we do know that...
Thomas Tuchel's busy trying to bring glory back to England for the first time since '66. But how did he get here? Well, from the sleepy town of Krumbach via some giants of European football, here's his journey to Wembley. Sitting around 60 miles west of Munich, Krumbach's population is less than 14,000 people. But Tuchel's friends there remember a boy whose ambitions lay far beyond the Bavarian community. His will to win was evident early. Tuchel often captained his youth football teams, and his school side lifted the national German football trophy in 1987. The sport took the young defender on a whistle-stop tour of South Germany, from Augsburg to Stuttgart and then Ulm. A knee injury ended his playing career at the age of 25, though. Tuchel accepted his first coaching role in the Stuttgart youth setup in 2000, hired by none other than Ralf Rangnick. Under Tuchel's stewardship, the club's under-19s won their league title in 2005. But Stuttgart chose not to renew his contract, feeling Tuchel had an abrasive personality. He went on to manage Augsburg's second team before spending 5 years at the helm at Mainz. He then followed in Jurgen Klopp's footsteps and moved from Mainz to Dortmund. Here, Tuchel secured his first major silverware, the German Cup, in 2017. 8 more major trophies came next for Tuchel in just 5 glorious seasons. He won 2 Ligue 1 titles and a pair of domestic cups as PSG boss. At Chelsea, he famously lifted the Champions League, as well as a Super Cup and a Club World Cup, and he also bagged a Bundesliga at Bayern Munich. And then, 4 months after leaving Bayern, Tuchel was unveiled as England's new manager.
I always wanted to come back to England. That was my big goal. I have the best memories of the country, of the league and of the players, the attitude towards the game, the attitude from the supporters.
Well, here's hoping Tuchel can finally drag England over the line at a major tournament.
talkSPORT's live in Orlando, Florida. You can check us out on the talkSPORT YouTube channel or on your smart TV. I'm Adrian Durham, our England commentator Jim Proudfoot here as well, and England legend Stuart Pearce. And along with our England reporter Faye Carruthers, we are your talkSPORT England team for the whole of this World Cup. Will England be going all the way? We'll get back to England very, very shortly, but let's talk Scotland, because Scotland made it to the World Cup first time this century. And even though we've just heard some of their fans are struggling to get across the pond to get to support their team at this World Cup, hopefully many will get across. And Scotland come into this World Cup in fine form. They're scoring goals. They've even kept a clean sheet in their last game. Let's speak to talkSPORT's co-commentator on Scotland at this World Cup, a former Scotland assistant coach. Mark McGee is with us on the show. Mark, how are you doing?
I'm doing well. Thanks, guys. You're out there already. Lucky you.
Yeah, I can tell you it's quite warm, so you don't need to bring a cardigan or anything like that, mate. So just take that out of the suitcase if you've got it in. First, I want to start with this story about the behind-closed-doors friendly against Norway. So the Norway manager, Ståle Stolbekken, has called Steve Clarke unprofessional after Scotland called off a behind-closed-doors friendly. Solbakken said Clarke should have made the phone call himself. He didn't. It was the Scotland team manager that made the call. He also refused to believe that the injuries that persuaded Clarke to call it off, niggling injuries apparently, he refused to believe that they happened in Scotland's final training session. So has the Norway manager got a right to be annoyed about this? Mark, what's your experience of this kind of thing?
I think he's got a right to be disappointed if he was expecting it and it was an important part of his preparation for his team. But I don't think he's got the right to be annoyed, because I think at this stage Steve Clarke is within his rights to look at his squad, to assess his squad, whether it's from the game against Bolivia or whether it's from training. If he's got a few injuries or a few niggles, he's got to be really, really careful. So I think he's within his rights. Whether he should have made the phone call or not, it depends who the phone call was to and how originally it was. I mean, was it arranged between the two managers? Was it something that they spoke about, or was it arranged from the associations? I don't know. So you need to know the facts before you can be too hard on Steve. But I think he's within his rights to call it off.
So let's get positive and talk about Scotland, because the last couple of results have been brilliant, and has that really energised the Scotland fan base? Do you think that that's led to some optimism that actually they could go further than maybe people thought?
Oh, results like this cause the Scotland fan base to think we're going to win the World Cup. So they tend to be a bit hyperbolic. It's either everything's wrong or everything's right. So these results will only fan the optimism, I can assure you. But I don't think that's a bad thing, because I think if that feeds through to the team, then the backing they get from the Scotland fans can only energise them.
Mark, do you think the order in which the games are being played, that they come up, is going to benefit Scotland? Haiti look on paper the easiest game, and that might just give them 3 points to kick off and get running to lead into probably tougher tasks up ahead.
Sure, I think it's absolutely crucial. I think that the luck of the draw is for once, if not in terms of the strength of the three teams, but certainly in the order of the batting, as it were, I think it's in Scotland's favour, because I think they do have an opportunity. While Morocco and Brazil are off beating each other up, Scotland have an opportunity against the least ranked team in the group to make a good start. So I think it really is a good draw.
Mark, what do you think will be concerning Steve at the moment when he's lying in bed at night, can't sleep because of the heat and his aircon's not working? What's going through his mind most? What are the biggest concerns he's got ahead of the kickoff?
I think picking the right team, picking the best 11 to cope with the physicality and the athleticism of Haiti. I know that Haiti are 83rd ranked in the world, but they've got assets. They've got ability in certain areas, and Scotland are going to have to be ready for that. So Steve's got to pick the right team. He's got to pick the right way of playing. And that is both in terms of the shape, but also in terms of what they're trying to achieve. Are they trying to pass the ball out? Are they trying to pass the ball through the Haiti? Are they trying to win the game through set plays? What it is they're trying to do. So he's stirring all that in his mind and making sure that he makes the right decisions around all those things.
So we're in a position, Mark, at the moment, as far as England are concerned, that we would probably be able to predict 8, 9 of the starting 11 with almost certainty. Where do you feel you are with Steve's train of thought? How many positions are genuinely up for grabs with a week or so to go?
Well, I think, the wide positions, there's a bit of choice there. Gannon Doak could play. Curtis could play. There was a bit of suggestion earlier in the week that Steve was favouring Curtis. I think Gannon Doak will play. And I think it's important he plays because against this Haiti team, one of the things they're going to have to do is they are going to have to get set plays. They are going to have to get free kicks. And with his running ability and his ability to take people on, he can suck people in, he can get free kicks in advanced areas, and he can give Scotland an advantage. So that's one. The rest, I think it's pretty much picks itself. I think that I'd like to see Ryan Christie play. He's the same, he commits players, he wins those free kicks. John McGinn and Scott McTominay are obvious choices. Whether he plays with a 4, now I'm not sure. He's not been, messing around a little bit with people's heads, Haiti in particular, obviously, in that he's played with a back 4. But, most of the time, Steve has played with a 3. And I wouldn't be surprised if they run out on the weekend in a 3 and that there's been a little bit of kidology going on.
Mark, every World Cup in a squad, someone will come and probably surprise a few people. I think Elliot Anderson will go on and have a good World Cup and probably come away from here with his reputation enhanced. Is there anyone in the Scotland squad, aside from the sort of, usual suspects, if you like, McGinn and McTominay, that you think might do that for Scotland?
Yeah, there is actually. And, over those last few weeks of the Scottish season, when the Hearts were in that run-in with Celtic and Rangers, I watched a lot of Lawrence Shankland, and I realised that he's not just someone who's been getting goals for Hearts, but he's got a lot of ability as a player to get turned, to get playing other people in, to play maybe in behind the back 4 to get runners. He can hold the ball up. He can get a set plays. I think he, for Scotland, can be a star. I think he can come out of this really, and he's experienced, he's calm, he's a player that doesn't get overexcited. I think he could have a big World Cup for us.
Mark, great to talk to you. Looking forward to getting you out here as well. So thanks for coming on.
See you out there, guys.
Cheers, Mark.
Cheers.
Mark McGee, former Scotland international, former Scotland assistant manager as well. We're live in Orlando at the brilliant Tom's Watch Bar. If you want to catch any live sport, this is the place to come in Orlando, which is where England's next warm-up game is. Next, we're going to look back at our favourite World Cup moments.
Let's talk about the World Cup then in a bit more detail. England, of course, touched down in America ahead of the competition. Let me get your views on the squad. Lots of players that a lot of people should have been in it weren't. Cole Palmer, Phil Foden, Gibbs White, Adam Wharton, Trent, of course, Harry Maguire being another one. What have you made of the squad and the players that aren't going?
All of them players are the real technicians, Adam Wharton, Foden, Cole Palmer, Trent. And Trent. So my opinion personally is the majority of them players should have gone, because I think that holding the ball in a World Cup is the most crucial thing, and being that team. But Thomas has gone the other way. Thomas, you can see he's picked by the team he's picked. It's going to be a sort of low to mid block, and he's going to look for counter-attacking football, right? So personally, I would have done it differently, but I like the fact that he's picked the type of players for his style of football that he thinks going to do it. And like, we're still a week gone from the squad, and we're still talking about the players not there. Almost like, listen, nobody would have picked now 26 players that Thomas would have picked. So we'd all have a disagreement somewhere. It's done now. That it's history. Like, this is the way we're going.
That make or break you.
Big players, big expectations, big moments.
It's Iniesta to win the World Cup for Spain!
Moments that are shared and remembered.
They will talk about this till the end of time. Brazil 1, Germany 7. Ronaldo has done it! A hat-trick for Portugal! He's brought them level! We've seen some inconceivable scorelines. We've seen some inconceivable storylines.
That's just the way we like it in a World Cup.
England have won a shootout! Ghosts are exercised! England are in the World Cup quarter-final!
Whoever triumphed, they will have created a magical memory along the way.
Argentina, one of the favourites for the World Cup, are pegged back at the start of the second half, and what a strike that is for Salim Al Dazri.
All those incredible games where you would have never put a penny on the Minos, and yet they created the upset.
Right foot, and he's hit it into the bottom left-hand corner, and Mbappe has a hat-trick. He has his place in history.
The greatest game of all, in the greatest competition of all, in the greatest sport of all.
Lionel Messi pens the ultimate ecstatic chapter to complete his already extraordinary story.
It's talkSPORT live in Orlando, Florida. I'm Adrian Durham, Jim Proudfoot and Stuart Pearce, your England talkSPORT commentary team here with, if you're watching us on talkSPORT's YouTube channel or on your smart TV, you can see Orlando in the background. This is where England play Costa Rica in the final warm-up game on Wednesday. We'll have that live for you, of course, on talkSPORT. And listen, I kind of watch a lot of things on social media, and I've seen a number of people say they can't get excited about the World Cup. I'm questioning whether they're genuine football fans, because we all have World Cup memories. There will be a specific World Cup that we remember, or a moment at a World Cup that we remember, cherished memories that stay with you forever. And that's why you love the World Cup. And I don't understand it when people say they're not looking forward to a World Cup. I actually don't believe it when they say they're not looking forward to a World Cup, because our lives are kind of marked by, every 4 years, a World Cup. You remember where you are, what you were doing, how your reaction was. You remember that goal, that result, that knockout. There's so many landmark moments, and they're defined by World Cups, that I just refuse to believe that people aren't excited about it. I'm definitely excited about it. Listen, it could turn out to be a terrible World Cup, who knows? But 2018, I think there was a lot of scepticism. I think the football was absolutely fantastic. Even Qatar 2022 really enjoyed the World Cup. And maybe it's different because we're at those World Cups, and watching them at home might be slightly different to them, listening to them at home as well. I don't know, but we've all got special memories of the World Cup. That I guarantee. So I want to know from you two your special memories from the World Cup, earliest memory or favourite memory of the World Cup. Starting with you, Stuart Pearce.
Well, for me, the first one I ever remembered watching on television, and probably my first ever memory of football, to be honest with you, was in 1970, and it was the World Cup. You know, the 70 World Cup was absolutely incredible. And Gordon Banks' save, if you've never seen it, Google it and have a look. From Pelé, it's the best save I have ever seen in my life up to this date. Still, it was incredible. The setup from Brazil was brilliant. The cross that was stood up to the far post was brilliant. A diminutive 5'8", 5'9" Pelé jumped like you'd never seen a player jumped, and put so much power in a downward header. It was incredible. The best player in the world has headed a ball across the goal. And Gordon Banks, who was at the near post, I think the commentator said it's 8 yards across that goal, and he's moved his feet, dived almost backwards to scoop it out the net. And every time I look at that goal, I think it's crossed the line.
Well, you've just called it a goal.
Exactly. And it wasn't. And I'm thinking, you know, I'm crestfallen one moment that we've conceded a goal, and the next thing, Gordon Banks, the best goalkeeper I think there's ever been for England, makes that save and inspired me to want to be a goalkeeper at that moment. It was incredible. And if I may say as well, later in the tournament, the final, the Brazilian team in the final, Pelé done something that is a great example to young children, right? If you're the best player on the football pitch, the one thing that makes you the best player on a football pitch is when you've got the ball, not beating 10 players and you've got the ability to do so, it's play a pass at the right way to your teammate who's in a better position than you are. You know, I know we all like to own the ball and run around with the ball as kids and all that game. But the best players in the world, and if Pelé, the best there's ever been, gets the ball, his team are winning 3-0, 3-1 at the time, and he just rolls the perfect ball to a teammate to score a goal. And I thought, wow, that's how to play football.
And I think you've kind of undersold the goal a little bit, because the build-up come from deep in Brazil's own half, down the left-hand side, and he's nonchalant. The finish is sensational from Carlos Alberto.
The team build-up from all of them had a bit of everything in. It had one player in midfield going past 3 players, then playing a nonchalant ball, the build-up playing near enough. Everyone's got a taste of the ball, and the strike to finish. And we're talking about, slightly bobbly pitch the other day, and I said to you at the start of the programme, players get to work out these pitches because they're great players. A bobbly ball, he's laid him a great ball, but he's got to keep his eye on it. He knows there might be the odd bounce. You've got to have a backup plan in case it does take. You've got to watch it right onto your feet. And everything was perfection.
I mean, it's 56 years ago, and we're still talking about it. I wasn't born back in 1970 as the youngest of us three, but only just. But I can still picture so many aspects of it that you've seen over the years. My favourite from that particular tournament that I've seen is the moment where a ball is played through, Pelé runs onto it, lets it go, and he runs to the left-hand side of the goalkeeper. The ball runs round into the right-hand side. He runs round the back of the goalkeeper, and then one of the greatest goals of all time, he misses the open goal because he's off balance and leaning back, and he shanks it wide at the far post. But that would have been an extraordinary goal. But there are so many moments that you can still picture, and that is what excites me on the eve of a World Cup, that we're about to see something that we will always remember for the rest of our lives, and it will always be a reference point, even if it isn't a vintage World Cup. And I think the format of this tournament means that the knockout stages will be really, really good. I like the fact, and I understand why purists don't, but I like the fact that it is seeded to an extent with the last 4 teams. I think the knockout stages will be fantastic, but you've got moments like that you're looking forward to, that you know that you will reference for the rest of our lives. And you can talk about any World Cup. You could just pick one out at random, and straight away the 3 of us will be able to come out with 2 or 3 different things from that World Cup that had happened. And that's the excitement for me. Here we are on the eve of it, 2026. Who knows what those moments are going to be? But the only thing is, you know you're going to get them. So what's your favourite moment then? My favourite moment is 2018, and it's the penalty shootout against Colombia. And part of it, you know, we often say, and we mean it, we're very privileged to do this job, and it probably is my favourite moment because I was there to see it live. But that whole game against Colombia at the Spartak Moscow ground, where England had taken the lead through Harry Kane, and then Yerry Mina had scored right at the end of the game to pull us back. We'd gone to extra time and then to a penalty shootout. And at that stage, we just don't, no disrespect, we never win penalty shootouts. So you think, could it happen again? Then we're 3-2 down in the penalty shootout after Jordan Henderson's effort is saved with 2 penalties left to go. I think was it Uribe hit the bar for Colombia, and then we score through Kieran Trippier, and then Jordan Pickford makes his save. And it's just the complete outpouring of emotion when Eric Dyer scored that penalty. I will never, ever forget that moment. And it was only a round of 16 tie. It got us through to the quarterfinals. But it was such a special moment when we had won a penalty shootout.
Yeah, that's an amazing moment. And dare I say, your commentary on it is ringing in my head right now. When you actually say England have won the shootout, it's like you almost can't believe it. That's
well,
how
I couldn't.
Yeah, and that's how that came across. And then ghosts are exercised is one of the lines you said as well. And it's just stuck in my head forever. And it's those commentary moments from years gone by, and that's one of those that's kind of stuck with me. I just want to mention as well Jordan Pickford, because they had a corner, the corner that they scored from, the late equaliser. He produced an incredible save for that corner. So you think that danger moment is gone, but the corner's come in, Yerry Mina's headed it in, and we get to that moment, the shootout. Without that equaliser, we don't have the shootout.
No, absolutely. And the other thing is, I remember later that night, so we were all staying in the same hotel. I know you weren't at the game.
I was at the game, but I wasn't.
Yeah, but we weren't working. And we got back to the hotel, and it was just the euphoria. You know, it was hugs all around. There were quite a few of us staying in the same hotel. We had a photo taken on the stairs because it just felt like such an important moment. There was this big team photo taken, and walking back in and seeing your colleagues, your friends, and all sharing in the moment, and that shared sense of ecstasy at something so significant having happened. It's just, as I say, it's something that I'll always remember. That
it was interesting for me to go into that and watch that penalty shootout. I was confident that we'd win it because I knew the preparation that had gone in prior to us getting there. As we stand at the moment, I hope that preparation, I've said this to you before, I hope that preparation has been passed forward to Thomas Tuchel when he's took that on board with this squad of players. The preparation and the hard work over years that got us to the Colombia penalty shootout scenario and winning that, I hope that's not been lost in the change of manager.
Yeah, because the last Euros we had a shootout with Switzerland, didn't we? And all of us were confident that England would win it, and it was it was a comfortable shootout. It's the least nervous shootout I've ever experienced with England. I'm going to save my World Cup moment for a little bit later on in the show. Let's update you from the France-Northern Ireland game. Ian Abrahams.
9-0, 19 on the clock. Mbappe's had 2 chances, one he curled wide, one good save by Pearce Charles. At the other end, though, from West Ham youngster Patrick Kelly with a shot right-hand side of the penalty area, just past Mike Magnon's left-hand post. I'll quickly give you my moment, if you don't mind, Adrian. Mwepu Ilunga of Zaire, the free kick for Brazil in the 74 World Cup. They're about to take it. He ran out the wall and thumped the ball 50 yards up the pitch. I thought it was hilarious. Hasn't stopped being shown since. Meanwhile, in Lille, it's France 0, Northern Ireland 0.
It was a hilarious moment. There's a big and quite dark political reason why that happened, but maybe that's for another show. Following us tonight, the Sports Bar returns. Jamie O'Hara, Jason Cundy are back together. They'll be taking all your England calls, plus the boys will be joined in the studio by Cola Bocchini, star of the award-winning show Ted Lasso. He's the AFC Richmond captain in the show. In real life, he's an Arsenal fan. He was doing well up to that point. That's the Sports Bar tonight with Jamie O'Hara, Jason Cundy from 10 p.m. We're live in Orlando at Tom's Watch Bar. Next, we'll dive into the England camp in South Florida, Palm Beach.
He's the sort of player, Andy, that you can't really look at age, because he could play at this level for another 4 or 5 years at least.
Do you think that long?
Yeah, I do.
31. You think he could be playing?
Doesn't rely on his pace.
No, he doesn't. But it's very rare you get great players. Even look at Mo Salah, right? Last season before last was. Yeah, I didn't look at Salah and thought his pace had gone. His just whole game went all of a sudden overnight.
I think when I watched him, he didn't look as quick. But I feel like Bruno Fernandes. Do you know what I mean? You'll find a position for him, even if his legs do go a little bit. He's just that talented. His passing range, mate. Do you know what I mean? Set pieces.
Reportedly has a £57 million release clause for European clubs. That means he can't throw him, say go to Man City. Should the likes of Real Madrid be all over that? Is that a bargain?
I would. If I'm buying Munich, Real Madrid, any club, maybe not PSG, that they've got a very good midfield. But if I'm Manchester United, I'm saying not a chance. 60 million, 70 million, I'll say no. I feel like he's that good to what Manchester United have done in the last season we just had, and going forward, who are you going to buy to replace him?
Yeah. Well, my view earlier on was get the 57, put 43 to it, and go out and get Elliot Anderson. And then you're starting again because he's a young kid.
Of course, yeah. But Elliot Anderson, Bruno Fernandes, two different players.
Yeah, no, I know that.
Do you know what I mean? You need to get Elliot Anderson as well as keeping Bruno Fernandes. And how much money will it cost you if you sold Bruno Fernandes? You might get 57 million, but maybe you miss out on Champions League next season.
Point. Yeah.
So
this was, just to remind you, this was Bruno's quote last November. He said, from the club side, I felt a bit of, if you go, it's not really that bad for us. More than hurting. It makes me sad because I'm a player. They have nothing to criticise me for. The fact that Omar Barada came out and didn't give it the old, he'll definitely be here. We'd like him to stay. Of course we do.
Yeah, it's very odd because maybe the club might look at it and say, like you says, 31, 57 million. It's a lot of money. You can rebuild with using that money for another player, but I just think it'd be ridiculous.
Okay.
Get ready to get the ultimate football fan winning feeling with talkSPORT Win.
The FIFA World Cup kicks off Thursday. talkSPORT are sending you and a mate straight to New York to see England live with Adidas, the tournament's official match ball supplier. A trip to watch England face Panama with return flights, hotel, match tickets and spending money all taken care of. Plus, Adidas throwing in the official Tri-Onda match ball and a fresh pair of boots as well. Here's how to enter. For your chance to win, head to talksportwin.com or text WIN to 83338. Texts and online entries cost £2.50 plus your standard network rate, or call 0343 418 7260. 0343 418 7260. Entries must be in by 4 p.m. June 12. That's when you'll need to answer your phone if it rings. 18 plus, UK residents only. This is a TalkSPORT promotion. Full T's and C's at talksportwin.com. So for your chance to win, text WIN to 83338 now. And the ball, by the way, Tri-Onda means 3 waves. Stop me if I'm boring you. And it represents the 3 host countries. Am I boring you yet? Yeah. Stuart's glazed over. Design on the ball, right? The red and the maple leaf is Canada. The blue and the stars is the USA, obviously. The green and the eagle, that's for Mexico. Now, the eagle is the national symbol for Mexico, right? And I didn't know this till I looked it up today. An eagle eating a rattlesnake on a cactus by a lake, that's the symbol for Mexico. Because if you see that in real life, you'll know you'll be able to build your house there.
Is that right?
That's right.
Is there an actual rattlesnake on the ball as well?
No, there's no rattlesnake on the ball. It's just the eagle on the ball. And that's the way the ball is stitched together. This is interesting. The way the ball is stitched together, apparently stabilises the flight of the ball. So we'll see once the games get underway. We'll see how that works out. It's been a problem in the past, but let's just hope it's not this time. I am a collector of tournament footballs, believe it or not. I've got a lot of balls, and this is a really good one. So the Triangle, I'm looking forward to seeing out it.
You've also a collector of signs as well, aren't you? If you could expand on that for us.
I don't know what you're talking about. Actually, yes. When the jet lag was kicking in here in the USA, I was up at like 3:30 in the morning, something like that, and was just doom scrolling as you do. And I was on the Peterborough United Insta page. For those who don't know, I'm a Peterborough United fan. I think they might know by now. And they were auctioning off some of the old signage at the ground because they're changing the club crest. So rather foolishly, I bid quite a steep amount of money. I'm not prepared to divulge how much publicly because my wife might be listening, right? But rather foolishly bid for a massive sign that used to hang in the reception area at London Road, Peterborough United. And I went online a little bit later on when the auction had ended and realised it had gone for a little bit more than I thought I'd bid. I then got an email saying that my bid had won. And the rules were that my bid was the same as somebody else's, so my bid was bumped up, so I won it. So, yeah, I've actually got this gigantic sign that is way too big to get through my front
So how
door.
big are we talking?
It's a lot bigger than your plate at the breakfast buffet. Let's put it that way. It's gigantic.
That's not going through your door.
You said you're going to put it on the front of your house, so your neighbours, whether they'll be pleased with that or not.
I don't know what to do with it, but
how are you getting it?
I don't know. I'm looking for solutions here. I don't know why I've got it, but that was middle of the night. That was jet lag. I should be allowed not to have it. I should be allowed to donate it to some sort of charity, maybe. I don't know, but. Don't doom scroll in the middle of the night when you've got jet lag. That's the message.
So what you're saying is you want someone to buy it off you
for a lot of money, yeah.
For next to nothing because you've realised the error of your ways. Yeah. You can't afford to hire the crane.
I can't believe it.
Tow it down the A1.
And actually, the other day we were on the way to the Space Centre, and I'd forgotten all about it, and it suddenly popped into my mind, and my heart sank when I realised I've bought this massive sign. I can't even get through my front door. Anyway, on that bombshell. Let's talk more. Let's go to the England camp, shall we? Because Craig Hope is the chief football reporter for the Daily Mail. Henry Winter, the football journalist, co-host of talkSPORT's Sunday edition as well. Both of them are with us from the England camp. Craig, Henry, how you doing?
Hi, guys. Very good.
Good to have you with us. I actually want to start with Craig because you've written a lot about Jude Bellingham in the past, and it's been really interesting. I sense a little bit of negativity, Craig, towards Jude Bellingham, but are you thinking he's going to start at the World Cup against Croatia, or is it going to be Morgan Rogers? What are you reading into it, and what do you sense from around the camp?
Yeah, I don't know why you sense negativity to Jude Bellingham. I think the coverage in light of the performance on Saturday has been nothing but positive. But that selection, guys, was really significant. Thomas Tuchel's 11, you might from afar think it's just a warm-up game. But Morgan Rogers being played just off Harry Kane. And I really believe Kane will have as big a say in the selection of who plays at number 10 as Thomas Tuchel. But Rogers starting there, for me, felt significant. He didn't do enough really in the first half to justify that inclusion. Jude Bellingham comes on at half-time, perhaps motivated by that omission. He immediately played with that majesty and that pomp that we know he can have, teasing those little passes around the corner. But I really do believe, and this is a feeling shared by others who are close to the camp, that coming away here to Florida, Morgan Rogers, even though Jude Bellingham was given the number 10 in the squad list number, Morgan Rogers was still the player in possession of the jersey for everything he'd done during qualifying. It's the biggest news story of the week. You mentioned their negativity, and when you do post stories about Jude on X, people come back and say, oh, here we go again. Well, guys, we're talking about Jude Bellingham because he's one of England's best players. He merits coverage. It's the biggest news story of the week going into next Wednesday against Croatia. Who starts? Jude Bellingham or Morgan Rogers? That's why we're talking about it. If you want my opinion, guys, now I think it's got to be Jude. I just think he's built for this occasion, and perhaps all of that noise around him, which, quite rightly does exist, I think that will serve as motivation for him. And for me, I would put him in the team.
I'm actually glad you've clarified it, because I think people would read your posts on social media and would read your stories and might feel that you are negative towards Jude Bellingham. So I'm glad you've clarified it. Henry Winter, your view on Jude or Morgan Rogers?
It's very simple. It's just a question of how far England want to go into this tournament. I mean, I've been covering England in many tournaments, and truly elite, world-class players who are clutch players, as they call them, who deliver in pressure moments, and particularly, we've been talking a lot about the heat, don't give the ball away. It all the way points to Jude Bellingham. England probably got, 3 elite level world-class players, obviously Harry Kane. Declan Rice is moving to that level, and Jude Bellingham. You don't walk into Real Madrid and take Zidane's shirt and then drive them through the start of the season as whatever age he was, 19, 20. You know, people talk about his maturity. He's living under huge scrutiny. Okay, he might not be huge fans of the media, but he is a winner. Out here, if he played in one of their major sports, he would be absolutely revered because he's got that swagger to him, because in difficult moments he will take the ball. England are going to need winners like Jude Bellingham. We saw it in the last Euros, and he's 22 and he's got 46, 47 caps already. I haven't met too many people, and I'll be fascinated to know Stuart's take on this, but too many former players and actually some current coaches who think that England can afford to go in against Croatia without Jude Bellingham at 10.
I sort of see it from a sort of managerial point of view, Henry. I've got to say that, sometimes you look back and you say, OK, over the last calendar year, which ones have done really well for me? And I think that points more to Rodgers than Bellingham. I do get you both of your points about he's a top performer, Bellingham, but I think there's enough games and enough time for him to fight his way back into the team. I think Rodgers will start because of the loyalty that the manager will show him in regard to what he's done over this calendar year. I think he's been one of England's standout players, Morgan Rodgers. I would quantify that by saying his form at the back end of the season has not been as strong as 3/4 of the season prior to that. But I think sometimes we as managers sort of have a streak of loyalty in us that says, look, you've done brilliantly for me, there's the shirt, but you know full well you've got to do your homework with the other players that you're not picking as well to keep them on side, make sure they're keen, and you know full well that if Rodgers does start this the first game, chances are that Bellingham might go past him as the tournament goes on.
So, just for clarification, would that loyalty be misplaced loyalty, or is that the right thing to do for a manager?
Well, it depends many times. I mean, I went away in 2010, and I know the gentleman covered the 2010 World Cup, and Wayne Rooney's form was absolutely awful at the 2010 World Cup, and he needed to be left out the team, in my opinion, but Fabio was of an opinion the only way we're going to win a World Cup is if Wayne Rooney delivers for us, and I get that, I understand that, but the trouble is we never got a tune out of him for the whole of the 2010 World Cup. His form, and I don't know what was going on in and around Wayne at the time, but it didn't. But sometimes you've got to offer loyalty to a certain respect, and all of a sudden, where's your loyalty to the other members of the group as well, So he's built this squad in his eye line as on team. That's the big thing. That's the name above the door, the England team. Now, the only way you do that, and he's demonstrated that by playing Morgan Rodgers ahead of Bellingham as in the season we've just seen.
Yeah. Henry, just come back on that very briefly.
Yeah, I just think that Rodgers, as you say, I mean, he hasn't had the best end of season, but overall it's been a very good season. I mean, I take a slightly broader perspective and I look at the last 20 years, 30 years. I mean, arguably going back to Stuart's days, if you're looking at the top 5 genuine talents, all-round talents, mindset, physicality, ability to take a game, left foot, right foot, take the ball under pressure. Okay, it was only New Zealand the other day, but I still think that he showed the work that he can do in and around the box. Someone who can break into the box, and it has to be Jude Bellingham. I find it's a great debate, and you guys do it brilliantly, but I do find it extraordinary that we've got this talent, and I understand a lot of the noise around him, and maybe Tuchel's been trying to sort of temper that or make sure that he is completely focused. But remember, the first game is going to be the most difficult of the 3. It's against Croatia. We know what happened. We know, some of the England players that you talk to still have issues going back to Croatia in the semi-final in Moscow. and I'm sure that will come out over the next sort of 2 or 3 days. England have to win that game.
Henry, Craig, stay with us. We'll be talking to you after the break. Plenty more to talk about as far as England's at this World Cup are concerned. Our World Cup gets underway next week. The final warm-up game is Wednesday here in Orlando, Florida, and we'll have that live for you on talkSPORT.
I think you also have got to give so much credit to Elliot Anderson, because it's almost like, I still feel it's almost like you could play a Rice at 6, you could play a Bellingham at 8, and then a Morgan Rogers at 10, or Cole Palmer. But because Elliot Anderson has done so well for club and country, now he's nailed that spot.
Yeah,
Declan Rice is just £100 million snip, and then so then now you're talking about Jude Bellingham, either Jude Bellingham or Morgan Rogers. Now, what I would say is, if we are to win the World Cup, I think 2 players, maybe 3, because I chuck in Jordan Pickford as well, have to be absolutely superb. So Pickford, Harry Kane, and Jude Bellingham. I think Jude Bellingham is truly world class. But the way that the group has gone, and the way that Thomas Tuchel has enjoyed the way that Morgan Rogers has played, I would have no problem at all if Jude Bellingham was on the bench in the first game against Croatia and Morgan Rogers plays in that one. Now, you can argue, and I understand, and people will be arguing, well, in the last couple of months, perhaps Morgan Rogers' form fell off a little bit. In the game against New Zealand, Jude Bellingham's performance in the second half was perhaps better than Morgan Rogers in the first half. But again, I'm not reading anything into the performance in that particular game. I think Thomas Tuchel knows his 11. I don't know what it is, and I'm fascinated to know whether that's one spot for me. The another one is on the left, and another one is who's going to partner Mark Guehi. I think the rest we can pretty much pick. But in terms of Jude Bellingham, again, he's had a stop-start season at Real Madrid because of injury. But this kid, and he's still a kid, has gone to the biggest club in the world and bossed it. I mean, in his first pre-season, I was told that he was bossing around Champions League, multiple Champions League winners. And this is the type of character that he is. And this is who we need. I wouldn't necessarily say to build our team around, but we need him peaking again for those knockout stages. So, look, the bottom line is, I think Bellingham, for me, finishes the World Cup.
I think that just went out on our YouTube channel. Your little face there, you pulled a little face, pretend that you were miming to it, weren't you?
I was trying to be Kim Wilde for a small moment in my life.
There's certain similarities.
I'm sure we all have, haven't we?
Back in the day, absolutely. We're 80s kids, of course. Craig Hope, Chief Football Reporter for the Daily Mail from the England camp, and Henry Winter, co-host of talkSPORT's excellent Sunday edition show, are with us for another 10 minutes or so. We're talking England. We've got through the Bellingham and Rogers debate. Henry Winter, any other areas of the team that you think are up for debate and still unanswered in Thomas Tuchel's mind?
But isn't it wonderful we're going into a tournament rather than worrying about who is injured and actually celebrating that England have got 2 exceptional number tens competing for that position. So Tuchel, owes great gratitude to Southgate and the academies and the FA development teams, which Stuart was very much part of with the under 21s. So that's good. Well, obviously, left side, Rashford or Gordon. I mean, I'm a bit of a Rashford supporter, and I imagine Tuchel is as well, remembering the damage that he did to his PSG team when Rashford was in his pomp at Manchester United. He's had a fantastic season for Barcelona, 14 goals, 14 assists. Probably got a point to prove, and obviously there's that extra edge with Gordon. But what I like about this England squad, and again, this is a Southgate legacy, is they all seem to get on. They might be club rivals, inter-club rivals, effectively, at Barcelona with Gordon and Rashford. You can see that, they're competitive, but they are, they do get on off the pitch. And then obviously right-sided centre-half, whether it's going to be Konsa or Stones. I don't quite see the point of bringing Stones out here unless you're going to play him. I think he's a fabulous player. His fitness, he probably needs a few more minutes against Costa Rica on Wednesday. But look, he's elite level when he's fit.
OK, so I'll ask you both, Henry, in a moment. Craig, first of all. What Henry says there is correct. They do all seem to get on, and that has been something notable about England, and a change in the England setup over recent years since Southgate came in. So that's a real positive. There's some very good players. There's winners in that England side. What is stopping England winning this World Cup then?
Yeah, I think Thomas Tuchel's placed great stock in that England United, that band of brothers, almost the club feel, and we saw that emerge, didn't we, through the September, October, November internationals. And just to go back to what we were talking about before the break with regards to Jude Bellingham, just quickly, the debate was never around Bellingham the footballer, it was around Bellingham the campmate, and the genesis of this was in the very good interview you guys did with Thomas Tuchel last June. So I think it's important we do clarify that. But now that Bellingham is here, I think you've got to play him now that he has bought into that, the message Thomas Tuchel has clearly sent back into his squad about being a good tourist, a good citizen, a good teammate. So yeah, but to your question, Adrian, why can't they win it? And if you're asking me, can they win it? Well, they can, but I don't think they will. And I think it probably comes back to the defence, the debate we're having there, the two wonderful number 10s, the two left wingers, Harry Kane through the middle. And we've spoken a lot about the special teams Thomas Tuchel wants to employ. But the special teams, it's largely confined to attack when England are chasing a game. Ivan Toney coming on for 5 or 10 minutes, Ollie Watkins, Dan Burn even being that nuisance factor in the penalty area. That's an offensive special team. Where's the defensive special team? It's all very well having an option for when England are 1-0 down and chasing the game. What happens, and heaven forbid we're in this, please we're in this scenario, if England are 1-0 up with 10 or 15 minutes to go, there's no real, for me, defensive specialists. All of their fullbacks by instinct, really, and by trade, are attacking fullbacks. It's why I would have brought Luke Shaw. It's why I would have brought Harry Maguire, those with that defence-first mindset. So for me, the weakness comes when they're going to face the very best, especially in wide areas, in the latter stages. I just don't think England have got that nastiness, that wiliness, that want to do the ugly stuff in defence. And Stuart, Stuart, you've got a lot of specialist areas, but left back is absolutely your specialist area. And that position, as well as right back to a lesser degree, would certainly worry me when they come up against Elise, Rafinha, Lamine Yamal.
Craig, Henry, just stay there a second. There's a goal in the France game. Ian Abrahams.
Craig just mentioned Elise. He scored. France 1, Northern Ireland 0 on the cusp of half-time. Long ball from Upamecano out to the left-hand side for Doué. He swept it back for Dembele. His shot was blocked. And there was Michael Elise 6 yards out to side foot the ball home. Northern Ireland done really well, but they've now gone behind. France 1, Northern Ireland 0.
I think a fair point made by Craig Hope there about orthodox defenders, solid defenders who might be needed to defend a one-goal lead. Henry Winter, what do you think might be stopping England from winning this World Cup?
Just to echo the left-back issue, which Craig rightly highlights, I'll make it, my maths is terrible, I'll make it either 11 or 12 left-backs, and England tried right-backs at left-backs. Trippier, James, I think, has played over there since the start of the last Euros, so it is an issue. Lewis Hall, who Craig will obviously have seen a lot about, I thought that he might sort of train on, but I just think that in many of these games, particularly against teams who are going to play with a low block and try to congest and be cautious against England, I think O'Reilly's fine. I think he steps from left back into midfield. I mean, he's probably a central midfielder by trade, but I just think he doesn't give me a problem there. I think the fact that you just highlighted Elise, I had to do my predictions, and I said that he would be the player of the tournament. And we have to look. We obviously look at everything very much through the sort of an England prism, and we all hope that the years of hurt will end. There's some very good teams out there. Spain are obviously good. France, Portugal, if they sort out the Ronaldo conundrum, they could be a threat as well. You look at their midfield, Vitinha and players like that, outstanding. Brazil with Ancelotti. So, look, when you pay respect to all those other teams, the World Cup is up for grabs, and I think England will probably round till 5th or 6th favourites. But look, got an absolute elite level manager who can make key decisions, crunch decisions late on in games. We saw that at Chelsea, and the players have obviously all bought into him. You only had to see that bit of footage from earlier of him doing that rallying cry for the players, and they were obviously all pumped up for it as well, as they should be, playing for their country. So look, absolutely England have got a chance, but there's some big obstacles in the way.
I need to throw this at Stuart about the left-back situation. You've heard what the guys have said.
Yep.
Would you agree with that?
Luke Shaw was one that I don't think he's ever let England down, and he's a solid sort of citizen at left-back as such, and he's a natural left-sided player. So that is a concern for me. And when asked whether England could win the World Cup, I've always said no, and always pointed to the fact, can we defend well enough to win a World Cup and win those really tight games, maybe against Spain or whatever, 1-0, and that's my concern, and that all roads point back to the back line.
But Jim, you'll know, clean sheets have been Tuchel's speciality by and large with England so far.
Yeah, it's 1 goal conceded in 18 hours and 3 minutes. But you've got to look at the quality of opposition that England have played against in accumulating those statistics. And my worry would be the historical one of England's appalling record in major tournaments against top 10 opposition. That is something that England have never found the right formula. Thomas Tuchel obviously hasn't had an opportunity to do that as yet, but that would be the area of concern. Keeping clean sheets in the kind of games that England have played is one thing, but being able to do it when it matters on the world stage against blue chip opposition is something that is at best unproven at the moment.
Listen, Craig Hope, Henry Winter, thank you so much for your time on the show. Some good insight from the England camp from those two guys. Coming up, we'll have a former FIFA referee, a member of our talkSPORT team for this World Cup, going to join us as we try and get a head round all of FIFA's new rules at this tournament.
Remember what happened at the Euros?
Yes.
And then we saw the scenes last night. And it was quite harrowing. It was. I mean, it's awful to ever see anything like that. But when it's someone that it's happened to them before and they've made that comeback, thankfully they had the pacemaker fitted.
Yes.
For me, when I heard the news and then I was watching it on the telly and listening to talkSPORT, the fact that eventually Christian got up and walked off was just fantastic.
Oh, of course.
Right? And I think that was the huge difference. And sorry, Gabby, I just think. My views. Yeah. I mean, I'm guessing he won't be allowed to play in the World Cup, right? That would be obscene, especially with the weather conditions. I just think sometimes in life you get a little warning, and it's like, I don't know what you believe in, what faith, if you believe in faith or not, but I'm looking at that and I'm thinking, okay, you've had that little bit of fun in the sun, right? And this is a warning. Your family, your kids, and your health are more important than anything else on the planet. And maybe now it's time for Christian just to stop, is my view.
I agree that there's more to life than football.
Yeah.
I mean, he obviously loves football, fantastic player, but he's had a great career as well. You know, he's in his 30s now. He shouldn't really be putting his body through this anymore. But it'd be interesting to find out, Andy, from like an expert, that would he be okay if he wasn't playing football? Could it still happen? Do you know, like, is it because obviously his heart rate's getting so high playing football? Is that what's bringing it on? It'd be interesting to know the details.
Thomas Tuchel's busy trying to bring glory back to England for the first time since '66. But how did he get here? Well, from the sleepy town of Krumbach via some giants of European football, here's his journey to Wembley. Sitting around 60 miles west of Munich, Krumbach's population is less than 14,000 people. But Tuchel's friends there remember a boy whose ambitions lay far beyond the Bavarian community. His will to win was evident early. Tuchel often captained his youth football teams, and his school side lifted the national German football trophy in 1987. The sport took the young defender on a whistle-stop tour of South Germany, from Augsburg to Stuttgart and then Ulm. A knee injury ended his playing career at the age of 25, though. Tuchel accepted his first coaching role in the Stuttgart youth setup in 2000, hired by none other than Ralf Rangnick. Under Tuchel's stewardship, the club's under-19s won their league title in 2005. But Stuttgart chose not to renew his contract, feeling Tuchel had an abrasive personality. He went on to manage Augsburg's second team before spending 5 years at the helm at Mainz. He then followed in Jurgen Klopp's footsteps and moved from Mainz to Dortmund. Here, Tuchel secured his first major silverware, the German Cup, in 2017. 8 more major trophies came next for Tuchel in just 5 glorious seasons. He won 2 Ligue 1 titles and a pair of domestic cups as PSG boss. At Chelsea, he famously lifted the Champions League, as well as a Super Cup and a Club World Cup, and he also bagged a Bundesliga at Bayern Munich. And then, 4 months after leaving Bayern, Tuchel was unveiled as England's new manager.
I always wanted to come back to England. That was my big goal. I have the best memories of the country, of the league and of the players. The attitude towards the game, the attitudes from the supporters.
Well, here's hoping Tuchel can finally drag England over the line at a major tournament.
It's kickoff on talkSPORT live from Florida, live from Orlando, where England play their final warm-up game on Wednesday. We'll have that for you live on talkSPORT. We're on the talkSPORT YouTube channel if you want to see this ridiculous shirt I'm wearing, and on your smart TV as well, or just listen on your radio. I'm Adrian Durham. Our England commentator Jim Proudfoot is here as well, former England captain Stuart Pearce, and we are joined by former FIFA referee Christina. Uncle, how you doing?
I'm doing well. I wouldn't call that a ridiculous shirt. I'd call that a Floridian shirt.
It is. I'm trying to blend in. I think it's just about working.
When in Rome.
You're also president of Tampa Bay Sun FC, I think I'm right in saying?
Yes, sir. President and general manager of a women's professional in the United States soccer team. But yep, we won the inaugural championship our first year last year. So
congratulations. And you're a member of talkSPORT's World Cup team as well, so we're so privileged to have you with us this summer. Listen, we want to talk about the new rules at this World Cup because they've just come in. You might be unfamiliar with them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to quickly run through them, some designed to eradicate time wasting, which can't be a bad thing. So there's a throwing countdown, 5 seconds. If a player deliberately delays the restart of play, the throw can be given to the opponent. A goal kick countdown, 5 seconds. Corner could be awarded. Treated players must stay off for 60 seconds, except goalkeepers. Doesn't apply if the opponent is booked or sent off. Any player covering their mouth in a confrontational manner, that's a red card. Stuart Pearce had a lot to say about that one. VAR can check corners but not goal kicks. Must be done quickly is the instruction. Second yellows can be reviewed but not whether a foul should have been a second yellow. Subs. Players have 10 seconds to leave the pitch. If they don't, the sub cannot enter the field of play for at least a minute until the next stoppage in play. This happened in a friendly actually last week between Iceland and Japan. I watched it today. Iceland player took forever to get off the pitch. The referee refused to allow the next sub on. Japan scored the winning goal against 10 men in that time. The ref can be sent to the monitor to look at fouls stroke blocks before the ball is in play if a goal is scored at a free kick or a corner, or if there is a penalty. This applies to actions from the attacking side only. And they used the Ben White goal against Uruguay. IFAB used that as an example, so they're already thinking England might be trying this. Cheers for that. Once you enter the box, there is a higher bar for giving a yellow, which makes the phrase anywhere else on the pitch it's a yellow card redundant. Question we should ask is, this is from IFAB, they're saying that we should ask, does the punishment fit the crime? So those are the rules. Let's hear from Thomas Tuchel, who spoke to talkSPORT England correspondent Faker Others about the rule changes.
I heard once about it in a meeting. I understood everything, but it was a lot, so had to write it down, and then we asked FIFA if we could have a referee to explain it to the players in detail, and they agreed. So we have this next week, and then from then I get my head around it because I need to hear it again. I have to say it was quite a lot, and I was not aware that we have so many changes in front of in such short time in front of a tournament. But it is what it is. Another thing to adapt. We all hope, I think, for consistency. So if we are consistent with it, we will adapt to it and make the most of it. I think we all have to get used to it, like with every new rule. Would we like to have a bit more time to adapt? Yes, but it's not the case. So let's wait for next week, and then I think it's mainly on the players to adapt to these things.
Yeah, it's down to the players, of course. That's Thomas Tuchel speaking to talkSPORT about the rule changes. Christina, by the way, just to lay the cards on the table, I hate VAR, never wanted VAR, still don't want VAR. This feels like more VAR and more rule changes just before a tournament. So is this a good thing or not from your point of view?
I think you took, what was it, a minute and a half to lay out all the new changes. So, you know, pure soccer purist as I am, I actually don't like VAR. I really don't. I love the
We're going to get on.
Set. Yeah, very much so. I mean, but it is what it is, right? We're IFAB, other stakeholders. I get it. Not just millions, but $1 billion have been at stake, and that's what it is, right? It's trying to implement perfection in a game that's imperfect, which is why I love this game. I think it's why everyone loves this game, right? You have your if you're romantic at heart, you have your villains, you have your saviors, you have overcoming defeat, and the more and more you implement this technology system, the more there is an expectation for perfection, which is just what even Albert Einstein's, accredited would never happen. So it's here. I'm with Tuchel on it. It's here. We can't do changes anymore. It's being implemented whether we like it or not. So how do we move forward with this? And from the refereeing standpoint of it, a lot of them are focused on accelerating the game and empowering the official to be able to accelerate the game outside of, we've seen the substitutions where the referee has to go to the person being subbed and jog alongside and be like, let's go, let's go, let's go. And you're doing that to be proactive so the other technical staff believes that you're helping. it's really not helping. So some of these are going to institute and help, as you mentioned, Japan. We've had that here in Major League Soccer. Go figure. It was Suarez and Messi that the situation happened right out of the gates. And guess what? The next Suarez substitution, he sprinted off the field, and he's not a sprinter, I can tell you that. So it is having the effect that it needs to have. And at the end of the day, when you implement any law, it needs to be changing it needs to be impacting play or curbing some type of action, and that's what it's starting to do.
I mean, Christina, there's so much to talk about here. Let's look at it first of all from a referee's point of view. Are you glad that you're out of it now and that you're not having to deal with all of this bureaucracy that is being brought in? Because for some of the referees, some of them will never have had to deal with VAR in their domestic leagues, and now they've got to deal with that. Some of them have never refereed at World Cups before, and a very, very difficult job, an impossible job, is being made even more impossible by the fact that, oh, by the way, you know, all those things you've always had to think about, here are another 7. Go and do it. Are you glad that you're out of it now? Is it an impossible job for them?
My knees are glad that I'm out of the game for sure. So these couple of ACL tears playing. But these past 5 years, it's just been incredible to see the technology just advance as to where it is. So I was one of the first officials in the world to use it on live games here in Major League Soccer on the VAR protocol. Ironically enough, Howard Webb was our instructor, was our advisor, broke it down. He had come over here. And we were so strict with the policy of VAR because it is a slippery slope, right? The more and more you open up, the more it can get subjective, the more things are applied to. And I could see at that point that it was going to go very, very far, right? Once you start, I think, pulling that little thread, all of a sudden the yarn completely unfolds. And that's exactly what's happening. So, yes, I'm grateful because it transitioned into this job of, people claim I'm, defending officials. I'm not. I'm explaining the scenario and the situation, similar to ex-players who step off the pitch. Here's what we learned, here's how we're trained, and here's how we're developed. Whether I agree with it or not is sometimes irrelevant. It actually gets a lot of activations when I give people my true opinion. But explaining what they're going through in the process, because the referees don't have voices. They don't have voices when they're coming up the ranks. And to your point, thankfully, when you get to this level in this type of a tournament, and you talk about UEFA champions as well, these officials have been working together for decades, right? They've worked together, they're put into systems. This past Saturday, they've been over for a week in Miami for a referee VAR course, but this has been a 4 to 8 year process for many of them. So they're all implemented, they've all applied it in their professional league. But when you talk about that up and coming referee, the referee that's refereeing, what do you call it, Sunday League over there, which by the way, I want to get to Sunday League when I go over to London, but England. It is a big step up. You're refereeing with football understanding, you're refereeing with what we say the gut, you know it when you see it and you feel it, and then all of a sudden you have to advance very quickly to saying, okay, not only do I know it, feel it, see it, know what football feels like, now I have to get very, very particular about it. And that's why the technology of even announcing your decision was delayed for so many years, because you were having to change referees from saying, I just know it from clips and from repeatedly doing the actions, to now saying, now I have to break it down and explain it. And at that level, when you're talking about running and high impact and the pressure and technical staff, and what I say is 22 players, substitutions, coaches, and the stadium on top of you, you now have to be clear in that record. So yeah, a little grateful, because you know what, this is job security over here for me, and it's kind of nice and cushy.
I must confess at this stage, I am a qualified referee, but going back to about 1980, when all you needed was a wristwatch probably to tell the time and get on with the game. But I think the timing of these implementations potentially right on top of the World Cup. Thomas Tuchel mentioned it, timing's not ideal. If I was taking a team into a major tournament, I would always, playing outside England, I would always get a referee to come in and give us guidance on the interpretations that might be coming. Do you think the nations have had enough time to do exactly that?
You can hear from it, and it's not just a narrative to control the media. There are some elements that have been tested, right? Last year's, what is it, Club World Cup? They keep changing all these names on us, right? I keep calling it the Intercontinental Cup, and that's not a thing anymore. So I actually was very surprised at this many changes and new implementations, even though the officials have been training with them. It happens at the U17s, U20 FIFA events. It happens at some of the trialists happen at other things. It doesn't happen at the senior national team. And why I say I'm surprised is because the 2019 Women's World Cup is when they had implemented that law where the goalkeeper, once they step off from a penalty kick or kicks from the mark back in the day, received automatically a yellow card. And we were running into situations where all of a sudden your kicks from the mark, you're about to eject the goalkeeper from a simple thing where the kicker didn't, and then they changed the law halfway through. I said, go figure. This is something that they're applying new in a Women's World Cup, the most major tournament ever. They would never do this in the men's game and in the Men's World Cup, and then here we are in 2026. I'm like, I don't know if I like that. I don't know if that's equity or equality. I don't know what you call it, but I don't think you should be unrolling these things. These are predictable. These are anticipated much in advance. And like I said, even though there's been lots of communication, they happen in rooms with other stakeholders in IFAB, even like the circulars, right? That's what they go and like. I know when they came out with the attacking, the corner kick and set pieces, and for the attacking, they said it's in circular number. I believe it might have been 32, 33. That wasn't even published yet because I know I went to go look at that immediately. And so when you have not just, which is not the responsibility ultimately from like technical staff and players and managers, but even like official experts like myself, where we're analyzing the game and we're sitting here being like, okay, this is a little too rushed, right? These are things we could have implemented over a year out. And at the same time, from an official standpoint, because the officials can't speak, those are the managers, get in front of the media much, much earlier. Have this be part of the conversation, because the game is more than just the players and the coaches, right, and the fans. It includes the referees. If not, you don't really have a game. So they got to start getting in front of the media more, in my opinion.
Christina, it's great to have you with us. I know Jim, our commentator, has got a million questions for you, so we're going to get stuck into those next on talkSPORT.
A lot, actually, has been made of Jude Bellingham and his role in this World Cup. Many thought Thomas Tuchel would give him the captain's armband in the second half, and that meant he's back in favour. However, he's actually facing a fight to make the starting 11. After I mean, I'd be stunned, but Thomas Tuchel said this after the game about Bellingham. He's one of the starters. He knows he's one of the starters, but we have 14 or 15 potential starters. Yeah. These roles can always change, but at the moment, I think there are like 14 or 15 prepper starters, and Jude is one of them. Would he say that about Harry Kane?
Yeah, but I think he's right, though. Everyone's looking for a story here. Bellingham's not going to start. So what? Bellingham has got experience. Already played in 3 tournaments. This is his 4th tournament. 3 goals, 2 assists in major tournaments. He's got the experience. But if he doesn't start, so what? It's not a big deal. Morgan Rogers has been in outstanding form for Aston Villa. And I'm sure by the end of the tournament, whenever England go out, if they win it, Jude Bellingham would have played a big role. But if he does start, he knows he's got to be at it. Because you've got someone like Rodgers and Eze who are there to try and take your spot.
You say it's not a big deal, and I agree, it's not a big deal.
Not for
but
me.
you want your best player starting, and I would say Jude Bellingham's better than Morgan Rogers.
Of course, yeah.
What happened there?
Different players for me. I like Jude Bellingham, but I love the way Morgan Rogers. He's running
better. If you're going to pick one in out of 10, who are you picking?
I can't call it.
Why?
I think they both offer something different. In certain games, you'd have Bellingham. In certain games, you'd have Rodgers. But Bellingham could start against Croatia, and what if he's quiet?
Yeah.
Rodgers comes on, plays out of his skin, and has a good performance. Starts the next game.
It's a nice problem to have, right?
Yeah, exactly.
What I like about Thomas Tuchel is the fact that, and you've got to keep football.
Another song with USA in the title, and another goal for France. Ian Abrahams.
France 2, Northern Ireland 0. 4 minutes into the second half, Michael Elise has his second. Malagusto on at half-time down the right-hand side with a cross in. Teo Hernandez's header wasn't the best, it was blocked, but Elise 15 yards out left of centre with his left foot blasted the ball into the back, and there no chance for Pearce Charles towards his near post. It means Didier Deschamps should be ending his campaign as France manager on French soil. This is his last game on French soil tonight as a winner. France 2, Northern Ireland 0. Ryan Shirky's about to come on as well. I know you like him, mate.
Yeah, player of the season. Former FIFA ref Christina Uncle is with us and will be with us for the World Cup on talkSPORT. We're live in Orlando. Stuart Pearce, I know you've got a question about that rule change. Any player covering their mouth in a confrontational manner is a red card. You're not entirely comfortable with this one, are you?
I just think it's very, very subjective. What is a confrontational manner, you know? If there's a melee gone on, you know, 2 players have had a set to, then another 2 players come together and someone does this. Are you seeing that as part of the confrontation that's going on around? And I think it just puts referees under so much pressure to deliver decisions that I think the biggest fear we have is this World Cup might hinge one way or the other for certain teams on decisions that has just put the referees under so much problems, you know, and not let the football do the talking as such.
Christina, I think that we all understand why the covering the mouth sanction has come in. I think we all get that. However, you could have a situation, because it's a straight red card, you could have a situation where a ref's going to a monitor to decide if a covering of the mouth is confrontational or not, and that is so subjective, isn't it?
It's incredibly subjective, and I think you hit on the head before. The player's escaping me right now. I know he's suspended for the first game in this World Cup, but it was with Vinicius Jr., right, where he was covering his mouth. It was one of the Champions League games, and, you know, I remember commentating on this, and they said, why can't the referee do something? And Thierry Henry's on our CBS show, and he was just like, why can't the ref do anything? I go, well, if the ref doesn't actually hear the words, we can't just go off based off of what people are saying, right? We understand something happened, but we can't just go off of, you know, purely subjective or intrinsic evidence. So this was a bit of a knee-jerk reaction to that scenario, right? And obviously it was mounting, and there was like death by a million cuts is what we say, but that was the final like portion of it. But then to your point, like, how are we going to know? And right now you have players, not just in football, but in all sports, and even, you know, just commentators, etc. They're always covering their mouths, because if not, you got the people dubbing over their mouths, and they'll get a great social media hit out of that, or misinterpret what they're saying. But to your point, how do we know that that's just not now out of habit that they're covering their mouth instead of saying something that might be, you know, a racial slur or something that's a completely derogatory, that's abusive and foul language? That might just be out of habit of them covering their mouths at this point. So I know it's trying to equip the referees with the opportunity to do so. I think it's an unfair, you know, onus to put on the officials to say, well, the official didn't reject them, so now that the match organizer's like, well, that's out of my hands now. Where we as officials say, that's not our problem, that's a match organizer with all their cameras to determine the punishment post-game, not during game.
As a commentator, I think the most intriguing one of the changes is looking at a corner or an attacking free kick. The jostling for position, and as a referee you are now being expected to look at every incident that happens before a ball is kicked. So first of all, from a technical point of view, a corner is taken and there is some jostling for position going on, and the England against Uruguay friendly back in March was specifically cited by FIFA. We've been on Zoom calls where, as broadcasters, we've been shown and the decisions have been explained, and that was the illustration. So that goal would not have stood. There was a block. Ben White scored the goal, but there had been a block 12 yards from goal, which now would be disallowed. But everything is in favour of the defender. So from that point of view, are you happy as an ex-referee from the technicalities that they have got the balance right? Because, you know, as Stuart would say, a lot of the contact is initiated by a defender. You can imagine you'll be in a situation where there is a defender grappling with an attacker, then a little bit comes back the other way. The referee sees that and there's a no foul by the attacker, and therefore it is a free kick to the defending side. So have they got this decision right to implement it in the way they're going to?
I say no. My opinion is they haven't got this right to introduce it so quickly on. It hasn't been, for lack of a better term, workshopped enough to see what it looks like in implementation. Because to your point, the defenders are now like, great, now there's a 12th man on the field, right? For lack of a better term. There's a 12th man on the field. It's VAR and it's Hawkeyes in the eye, which it's not Hawkeye, no offense. I know that's a company. But it really kind of puts... Yes, I get it. They're trying to help the officials be able to determine these that go into the back of the net. But now we're also talking about, is it a clear and obvious error, which we still have not yet seen the guidelines. I know the officials in Miami right now are being run through examples and clips of what they want to see, but the rest of us haven't been able to see what they want to see. And the biggest word that anybody asks and always insists, players, ex-players, refs as well, when we do our match observers, is consistency, right? We heard Tuchel say, you want consistency. But what does consistency look like? I don't know. We're starting establishing consistency in group stages. So at this point, we're learning consistency now. We're going to be learning consistency this week of what that looks like. And, you know, another reason I don't think it's workshopped, I know Sam Matterface, good friend, we were just sitting there just talking, we dork out. We talk about the rules, right? The laws that are being implemented. And it's like, okay, great. Corner kicks and set pieces. But yet, throw-ins in the attacking third, we know we have throw-in specialists. Some of those are more advantageous than a set piece. So is that included in the protocol? And the answer is no at the moment. But that can be as detrimental in that situation of, do we have people set on the goalkeeper, right? Is there somebody else, you know, established in another position? So at the end of the day, it comes back down to what are they trying to fix? They're trying to fix a goal based upon an unfair play that occurred that substantially impacted and put the ball in the back of the net, or was close and led up to it. But if something happens on the first post, but the goal happens on the second post, now, you know, commentators are gonna be like, well, should you be checking the situation on the first post, even though the goal happened in the second post, because that might have prevented so-and-so from jumping, and was that the path, the flight of pathway? And now we're re-examining and re-refereeing the game, which is the whole point. Not to re-examine. It's in the fundamental core values of VAR. Do not re-referee the game. And I feel right now, because we haven't workshopped it, we haven't isolated the situations, we haven't even talked about football understanding in the sense of a throw-in is as detrimental. I've seen, I forgot what play we were talking about, where someone actually wanted a corner kick instead of a throw-in. So they made sure it went out for a corner kick because it was less impactful because they knew they had a specialist, right? And those situations haven't been discussed and worked out and workshopped enough. We haven't seen enough examples that, you know, hopefully not, right? Because the referees don't want to make game-critical decisions, key match incidents. That is our livelihood. You're only as good as your last game. I'm really fearful that there will be a couple of plays or situations like that, like to your point, that will affect the outcome of a game and people who waiting for this for 4 years.
So from a technical point of view, just explain to us exactly what we can expect to see. You've got a corner. Before the corner is kicked, there is a foul by an attacking player on a defending player. The referee, presumably, if he sees it or she sees it, stops play then, has a word in the way that we are accustomed to seeing. If they don't spot it and it goes to VAR, is it only when a goal is scored that it will then be inspected? And how does play restart? Does it restart with the corner being taken again, or does it restart with a free kick for the infringement?
Corner being retaken again. So it's like, oops, like, let redo, right? Like, that's kind of how he coined it. It's like, let's redo this. It didn't work out. We didn't get it during live, and then the corner kick is retaken again. So it's also a way of giving them a second bite of the apple, right? And that might be that phrasing of saying, okay, well, defenders have a 12th man, but now it's giving the attackers another bite at the apple. And once again, I still don't think that balances itself out.
Okay, and if you have an incident like the recent one involving Marc Cucurella in a Chelsea game where he got a yellow card for what was a clear foul, had the ball been in play when he had committed that infringement, it would have been a penalty against him, but he picked up a yellow card and the corner was retaken. Do you think that should be looked at, and that under those circumstances, even though the ball is not in play, that should be a penalty?
So these are really difficult, because sometimes you say when you didn't have the cameras and you were officiating in your backyard, you would basically, no one knew when the ball was in play. So you would punish them as soon as the ball is struck. You're like, foul coming out or penalty kick going in, no one would be able to time this. Too many cameras, too much inspection, too much technical, so you can't do that at this point. But in that situation, in that play, yes, it's unjust because the ball is not in play and Cucurella gets that advantage off of that. And then we retake that situation in that play. So that one, because of the defender, don't feel like yet you go to that penalty kick because the attackers get another opportunity for that play. You get the yellow card. So what's to say, does the punishment fit the crime? That's something we've been saying for years, right? And that's how you come to removing second or third yellows on penalty kicks and removals, etc. This is something similar too, where when we're trying to evaluate, because even myself, I don't confidently know where that answer would be with respect to, because I haven't done enough clips to say, here's where I feel like. In the Cucurella claim, like, you got a yellow card and the attackers get another opportunity to replay that. That feels fair, right? That feels fair, because what was taken away from them was an opportunity to score from his foul. Yellow card, at least there's punishment behind that, and then we have another opportunity. So I'm like, okay, that can sit. That feels okay with me. Because I think a penalty kick is still too much at that point, because we're not yet there with the landing, right? The ball was going in that direction, but we 100% confidently know he'd have it. He'd put it on the back of the net. Is it fair enough? Does the punishment fit the crime? I still think the answer is no there on a penalty kick situation. So I still am okay with a yellow card and a retake in that play.
Christina, you're going to be busy at this World Cup. I think we're going to make use of you a lot at this World Cup. I really appreciate you joining us for so long on the show and explaining so much as well. I'm really looking forward to the World Cup and your involvement. Thank you.
Yeah, well, welcome to my home, my country. And then, I'm still a little upset that Miley Cyrus is the call out of her song, but it is what it is. And welcome to the United States, and we're excited to have you all.
And I got my validation for my shirt as well. Thank you very much, Christina. We're live in Orlando at Tom's Watch Bar. Next, we're talking about England's new vice captain, Declan Rice.
He was brought in to win the World Cup. It is all or nothing. You either win the World Cup or you don't. Now, actually, it might be black or white for a lot of people. I think there's a little bit of greyness in there. If he gets through to the semi-final and loses unluckily against Argentina or Portugal for some reason, or gets to the final as well, I think that's okay in these conditions. But there will be a lot of people who will say, well, you didn't do this, you didn't take Cole Palmer, Morgan Gibbs-White, Harry Maguire, Lewis Hall. You made these decisions with the Arsenal boys. Do you know what? It's all about winning football matches now. And in that sense, even though I haven't been in total agreement with him, I'm behind him.
Thomas Tuchel all the way for Scott Minto.
Not quite.
What's the minimum then? I know you said he was brought in to win the World Cup.
The minimum.
What's the minimum that he has to achieve for you?
Do you know what? So for the 2022 World Cup, I thought, you know what, we've got a real good chance here. And Hugo Lloris said if Harry Kane had stuck that penalty away, England would have beaten us, and who knows what would have happened after that. The 2024 Euros, I thought going into it, I thought we've got a great chance here, and we kind of laboured our way through to the final. Genuinely, with this competition, I've got no idea. Because we could easily get to the final, because I think we are one of the best teams, and we could evolve as the tournament goes on, but then there's half a dozen who could as well. Or we could play Mexico in Mexico City with the heat, humidity, altitude. Graham Souness once told me, he was captain of Scotland in '86. He said, your body does three things in the altitude. One, you can handle it. Two, you struggle.
top hand to it and beaten it away. And now, if Eric Dyer can put this one in, England are in the World Cup quarterfinals. It's Eric Dyer against David Ospina. Eric Dyer wins the shootout. England have won a shootout. Ghosts are exercised. England are in the World Cup quarterfinal.
That was your moment, Jim Proudfoot.
No, it was Eric Dyer's moment. It wasn't my moment. It was Eric Dyer's moment. That was
your favourite World Cup moment.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's just fantastic.
It was
wonderful.
Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant from Moscow that night. There's another goal in the France-Northern Ireland game. Which way, Ian Abrams?
France 2, Northern Ireland 1. Michael O'Neill's side back in this, all thanks to Shay Charles down the left-hand side. Got the better of Upamecano, squared it for Patrick Kelly, the Barnsley player. Second appearance for Northern Ireland for 3 yards out. He couldn't miss. France 2, Northern Ireland 1.
Interesting. Somebody described France as having a soft underbelly after the Ivory Coast defeat. So we'll see if that they bring it with them to the World Cup. Still in France, by the way, and they make their World Cup debut a day before England's first game. Earlier we were talking about the World Cup memories. Jim's was the shootout, England winning the shootout against Colombia at 2018 World Cup. And Stuart's was the Gordon Banks save, the mega save that turned him into a goalie. Yeah, what happened to that then?
Well, I went on to have a fruitful career, but not as a goalie. So, well, fruitful-ish, anyway.
Actually, the World Cup, I mean, for me, World Cup is why I really love football. My earliest football memory, I was 5 years old, and it was the 1974 World Cup final. I don't remember too much detail of the game, but I remember the game being on, Holland against West Germany. And I remember Holland scoring really early on, and I got so nervous that I was very violently ill right in front of the TV in the living room. 4 years later, by which time I was well into football, my first FA Cup memory is the 75 Fulham losing to West Ham 2-0. I can remember big details of that game. The 78 World Cup come along, and by this time I'm thinking Holland always get to the World Cup final. And they were playing Argentina, and you remember the ticker tape and all the stuff that goes with it, Kempes, etc. And again, before kick-off this time, I got so nervous, I was violently ill in front of the TV ahead of that game as well. So the World Cup made me feel sick, quite literally, but in a nervous excitement kind of way. And by the way, I'm always also thinking Scotland always qualify for World Cups. England never qualify for World Cups. So this is how I grew up thinking that this was the case. So 82 comes around and England qualify for it, and we're there. And I race home from school. If you remember Spain, the timings of the games, race home from school, put the TV on. We've just kicked off against France, and 27 seconds later, Brian Robson, he scored a great goal, actually. He was on his own in the box, but the ball was at an awkward height, and he kind of manoeuvred his leg to such a position where he could get some downward force on the ball to get it past the keeper. And we're 1-0 up after 27 seconds, and I'm thinking it's a magical moment that's stayed with me forever. You're nodding because you know exactly what I'm talking about, Jim.
Yeah, because I'm 3 years younger than you. I don't remember the 74 World Cup at all. 78 because it was played in Argentina I was 5, so the time difference was completely prohibitive. So 82 is the first World Cup I can remember, and so that's the first England game I remember in a World Cup. It was the first one in my lifetime, and yeah, racing home from school in order to be able to see it. I can absolutely every word that you said there I can relate to, and thinking, well, I don't get much better than this. Here we go, 30 seconds in, we're already a goal up. Going to win it.
I do remember, because we won the 3 group games, went through, and there was another mini group stage of 3 teams.
Yeah.
We were with Spain,
got stitched up.
Spain and West Germany. Well, we did and we didn't. I mean, we drew both our games 0-0 and went out, so we went out unbeaten. But and Keegan and Brooking were potential.
That was the big talking point.
Yeah,
Why was
they weren't fit. Yeah, but they weren't fit going into the tournament, and he threw them on at the end, Ron Greenwood, but they couldn't get a goal. But we had Peter With in that squad, and he just scored the winner for Aston Villa against Bayern Munich in the European Cup final. And I'm sitting at home thinking, why? Yeah, he shinned it, but it went in. I'll take him shinning one in that final game so we get through and go and win the 82 World Cup. For me, I just couldn't understand. And here's a little World Cup stat for you. Aston Villa won the title 81, European Cup final 82. Not one Villa player played a minute for England at that 82 World Cup. It defies belief. It defies belief that happened. A European champion side, and not one of them played a minute. But there were some good players around. at that time. Let's remember that as well. Need to talk about Declan Rice being made England vice-captain. Stuart, this isn't really a huge surprise, is it? It feels like a logical decision.
Yeah, I've always viewed him from afar, maybe because I'm slightly biased towards him because I've worked with him, that he'd thrive in an environment like that. I would love to see him as the Arsenal captain. I can't believe that he's not Arsenal captain, because I think, you know, he would flourish in the role, and he is captain material. So him being part of this England setup as the England vice-captain is fantastic to see.
Joe, I actually think this is one of Thomas Tuchel's shrewdest moves, because I'm with you, and I think he should be Arsenal captain. As West Ham captain, I've seen him grab hold of games by the scruff of the neck, and you'll have coached him during this time, Stuart, and win the game virtually single-handedly for West Ham, because I now feel he's not even vice-captain at Arsenal. And I think that to a certain extent he's playing within himself. But for me, it's not a bad thing it's not a negative from Declan Rice's point of view in some ways, because he's doing that out of respect. There's a vice-captain, there's a captain. I don't want to take their limelight away, because he's such a good pro, such a good teammate. That's how it feels. But actually, I feel like he's playing within himself, and there's so much more to come from him. So I think Tuchel making him vice-captain, you can't take it away from Harry Kane. He's going to be the captain, and that would be wrong to do that. But making him vice-captain might just get some more out of him at this World Cup.
That's the hope. I think his esteem will rise on the back of that. Harry Kane is the captain, and I get all that, I really do. But there's a little bit of me that would love to see Declan as the captain, with Harry in the team as well.
Yeah. Jude Bellingham, would he have a right to be upset by this?
He's got to get in the team first. And the fact that he's picked Declan Rice and the timing of that as vice-captain, I don't know whether there's a sort of innuendo there that, you know, hey, you captained the team the other day, but whatever. But listen, he's done brilliant. Jude, you know, 40-odd caps at the age he's at. He's going to be one of England's all-time record cap holders, and hopefully he's going to have a winner's medal to his name as well.
And there's a bundle of other captains, Jim, isn't there, without being named captain or vice-captain? You've got Henderson, Dan Burn, etc. There's a John Stones. There's a leadership group within that England team that all have kind of effectively they're captains without being captains.
Yeah, absolutely. There are a lot of leaders, and a lot of guys that are leaders in a quiet kind of way as well. Esri Konsa, for instance, I would say a consummate pro, that's somebody that everyone in the squad will look up to. Not the most vocal, but leads by example. So I think that England are blessed with a lot of them. Reece James is someone that has captained Chelsea, a multitude of times. I think Elliot Anderson is a real leader without ever having had an armband, etc., etc. England in a strong position for that.
Jordan Pickford as well will be considered a leader. So in terms of the leadership, Stuart, Harry Maguire left out, and a lot of people thought that was a mistake from a defensive point of view, but also from a lack of leadership point of view. There is no lack of leadership, is there?
You wouldn't think so, but leadership comes in very, very different guises this day and age, you know what I mean? It really does. And we'll get to know what leadership really looks like in the heat of battle in probably 2, 3, 4, 5 games' time, you know, when you need to do something on a football pitch in relation to what's going on, you know, to receive the ball under pressure. That's leadership. All of those types of things feed into leadership. And
Declan, you work with him really closely, Declan Rice. There was this thinking at in the Euro final against Italy years ago, where he was taken off in that final. He was subbed in that final, when actually I think he's come out since and said he wanted to stay on. But Gareth and his coaching staff thought that Declan Rice looked tired. He looked exhausted, but he has this ability to look exhausted, doesn't he?
We had that with him at West Ham. He looks as though he's absolutely bottomed out. And he's like Chris Waddle on occasion. Most of the time he's fantastic. Body language is really good. And then on the odd occasion you looked at him and you thought, he's bottomed out. He's done. His race has run. He always finds a bit more. So don't be fooled by that, you know. And I think some people are. We were at West Ham in the early days, you know. Dave used to say, look at Declan, he's gone. I said, don't worry about it. We've seen it before. He's an athlete. He's a machine. He's fantastic. He keeps going. It's like Chris Waddle. You look at Chris Waddle, you go and defend Chris Waddle and think, look, he can't raise a leg. Look at him with that sort of hangdog profile. And it was all part of the I'll stop here and then I'll go, maybe. I don't know. It was incredible.
Yeah, some player, by the way. I think the message, Thomas Tuchel is listening to this on the talkSPORT app. don't take Declan Rice off. Even if you think he's tired, do not take Declan Rice off. We've got another goal in France. Ian Abrams.
France 3, Northern Ireland 1, quarter of an hour to go. While France defensively maybe a soft underbelly, Michael Elise is right on form. What a goal to complete his hat-trick. Drifted in from the right-hand side on his left foot, and he's bent it into the top corner. Again, no chance for Pearce Charles. Michael Elise is ready for this World Cup, let me tell you. France 3, Northern Ireland 1, quarter of an hour to go.
Well, we're in this sports bar, and we in Orlando. We've just seen the goal, Stuart Pearce, and any wonder? I think it was Henry Winters saying that he thinks Elise will be his player of the tournament. He's got a chance, hasn't he? That was some finish.
It was a great finish, but 3 Northern Ireland defenders lined up and still let him come inside. You know, I've got my defensive head on here. I'm really frustrated with that goal. But what a brilliant goal. And he's going to be one of the individuals that people think are going to light up this World Cup.
We are live in Orlando at Tom's Watch Bar, and we've got more to come on talkSPORT.
You've played a lot of football in Thailand, of course. Are you there now? Or are you in LA? I can't work out where you are.
I'm in LA at the minute, but I played the last season in Thailand.
Yeah. What's the humidity out there for you? How much of a sort of not an eye opener was it? But you can't really prepare for that unless you're out there, right?
You can't really prepare for it, and you don't really get used to it. There's not a time in the whole season where I thought, right, now I'm used to the conditions. It's how can I adapt my game to be able to survive? Am I going to have to time my runs? Am I going to have to dribble once and then keep it simple? Am I going to have to defensively? Am I going to have to know when and where to press? Because I can't go every time. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what the England guys are going to have. It's a similar conditions, probably not as hot, but that's what the guys are going to have to figure out over the 2 friendly games is I can't go every time. I'm going to have to choose my moments. And I think we saw in New Zealand, even like the Anthony Gordons and the Ollie Watkins, who are go. Even those guys were choosing their moments. Ngamoa played very well on the right, but he didn't go 1v1 every time. He kept it simple sometimes. And that's the way it's going to have to be.
It's a weird feeling, isn't it, Andros? I remember going to Hong Kong quite a lot pre-season tours, and you can't breathe, can you? It's like you're trying to sprint and you feel like you're going to like pass out from not being able to breathe. Do you think that the manager will have to make sure he's using the squad in this World Cup? You know, in those games where you're playing in those conditions, even the game, when we get to the last 16, if that's Mexico in Mexico City, he has to use a squad of players, doesn't he?
Yeah, 100%, Gabby. And I think that's why we spoke about the wingers he has. There's probably no real difference in a Gordon or a Rashford or a Saka or a Madueke or Harry Kane. He's tired after 60 minutes. We've got the pace of Ollie Watkins who can terrorise teams. So we've got the strength in depth. I think it's only really France that...
It doesn't mention USA. However, it mentions New York a couple of times. We're giving you the chance to win a trip to the 2026 FIFA World Cup, courtesy of Adidas. You and a mate could be in New York on June 27th, seeing England-Panama live. We've got your flights, hotels, spending money, match tickets, and the official Try-Under match ball all covered. Head to talksportwin.com to enter and for full T's and C's now. Good luck. with that. Let's bring in talkSPORT's reporter following the USA national team at this World Cup, Ben Jacobs. Some of his stuff on Instagram, honestly, has been unmissable. Fantastic. The pizza. Have you recovered, Ben Jacobs, from that spicy pizza that you ate?
I got stitched up. First of all, because they said extra jalapenos and I can't handle spice. Second of all, because the whole pizza fell off the slice before it even reached my mouth. And if you got any kind of stubble like I do, it was a clean-up job too. And of course, it found its way on the talkSPORT social channels.
Oh yeah, it was a joy to watch. I'm glad you didn't enjoy it. But listen, let's talk about we'll talk about USA in a moment. I want to get the latest from you. We spoke on Saturday about the latest with Elliot Anderson and a move to Manchester City, and there's more developments now. What's happened?
Yeah, so Manchester City are preparing a second bid. That's my understanding. Of course, things could potentially stagnate during the World Cup because Elliot Anderson won't want too many distractions. But as you well know, agents can still hold meetings with clubs and so on. And Manchester City are prepared to go above the £80 million mark. My understanding is that Nottingham Forest at the moment are looking for a similar ballpark fee that saw Declan Rice leave West Ham United and join Arsenal, so in excess of £100 million. Had Forest got relegated, it might have been a bit different, but now Evangelos Marinakis is in a much stronger position, and even more so if Manchester United formally enter the race, and that is not to be discounted. It's been thought for some time in the industry that Manchester City are the front runners and have got player buy-in, but Manchester United haven't given up either, and whether they get Elliot Anderson or not, Anderson is also Manchester United's leading target, and the knock-on effect of that and the complication is if Manchester United try, suddenly Nottingham Forest have got a bidding war, and it makes it even harder for either Manchester club to get a price below £100 million. So Man City still consider themselves the front runners, but a Manchester United bid is not to be discounted.
And a quick one on that. Do you think this will all be wrapped up before the World Cup? Because Stuart said earlier on talkSPORT, and I believe this as well, that Elliot Anderson is going to be one of the stars at this World Cup. So it might be in City's interest to get it wrapped up early.
Yeah, exactly. The better he does at the World Cup, the higher the price, maybe even the more resistant Evangelos Marinakis will be to selling. He's a wild card in any negotiation. This isn't a standard kind of talk club to club like perhaps you find with a Brighton or a Bournemouth, where there's always a price, even if it's not named from word go. Marinakis could wake up today and go, I'm going to sell at 90. He could wake up tomorrow and go, it's 200 million. He could wake up the next day, let's hope after England win the World Cup, and say no price. So there's not really a clear timeline here, but you're absolutely right in what you say, that there's a danger for both Manchester clubs if they leave it too long. Elliot Anderson's price rises even further, and yet they've got to be respectful to the player side. And if Elliot Anderson indicates he doesn't want a distraction, then you only get Elliot Anderson by respecting the player's timeline as well, and that's what makes this whole saga both unpredictable and complicated.
Ben, you're following the USA for us on talkSPORT. They led but lost to Germany Saturday in Chicago. What's been the reaction to that defeat?
So I'm here at Great Soccer Park in Irvine, California, and as you say, in Chicago they lost 2-1 to Germany. Kai Havertz with an early goal. Anthony Robertson, or Jedi Robinson as the Americans all call him, scored a fantastic volley. He said it was the best of his career. And then in the second half, Leroy Sané with a low effort across the goal, slight deflection into the bottom left-hand corner. The USA held their own, but we saw some defensive frailties, and once again not chances being taken, particularly Christian Pulisic, who had a double chance, both from close range. He hit each of them straight at the goalkeeper at his near post, and he's going to have to be more clinical. And yet there were positives, and Tyler Adams, who's going to be so important in central midfield for the US men's national team, was still pleased with the mindset of the US men's national team, even though they lost that game to Germany.
It's a hell of a game, to be honest with you. Great test in our final match before heading into the World Cup. I think for us, the most important thing is that we showed our resilience and character in this game. To go down and concede early is obviously never ideal, but that being said, you know, we created a lot of chances, had a high volume of chances, half chances. We were getting in the right positions. You know, those kinds of things you can tune up still, you know, going into the first game. But the character and mindset is there, and that's the most important thing.
So that was Tyler Adams there speaking to me after the US men's. That was Tyler Adams there, guys, speaking to me after the... that was Tyler Adams there speaking to me after the US men's national team lost to Germany by 2-1. And I asked him also about a midfield partner, and it was fascinating because we've had a lot of debate here about Weston McKennie, and if he drops deeper, then there's a chance that you don't get those goal contributions from him, and as a consequence, it might be more conducive for them to pick someone like Sebastian Berhalter, son of former US men's national team boss Greg Berhalter, alongside Adams, and then McKennie can push further forwards. But when I asked Tyler Adams, who would you prefer to play with and what's the chemistry like, he didn't want to give anything away, and his answer to me was, I would play with a mannequin next to me. I simply do my job in the centre of the park. I couldn't care whether it's McKennie, whether it's Berhalter, whether it's anyone else. But that's going to be a big talking point. Where's the engine room of the US men's national team going to come from, and who will be the midfield partner of Tyler Adams?
What's your gut feeling on it, Ben? Which way do you see he'll go?
Well, I think Pochettino started with a 4-2-3-1 formation, and it was McKennie and Adams, but then after the break he reverted to a back three, which gives a bit more protection to Tim Ream, and then suddenly Anthony Robertson can bomb forwards, and McKennie was given a bit more licence. I think the best chemistry is Tyler Adams with Sebastian Berhalter, and then Weston McKennie further forwards, but that might mean that Sergino Dest is out of the side, Malik Tillman as well. There's just a lot of versatile attacking options that can play in more than one position, and if Pochettino wants all of his attacking weapons, McKennie has to be deeper. If he wants the best chemistry, my view is that McKennie should be further forwards.
I know they've got concerns about Richard's fitness. What can you tell us about the Palace man? Is he going to be okay?
Yeah, so Chris Richards has trained today with the group, and he was actually part of the training session before the defeat to Germany as well, as he recovers from an ankle injury. The expectation is he'll be fit for Paraguay. Richards hasn't officially communicated that, and nor has Mauricio Pochettino, maybe tomorrow, but it's 2 full training sessions. And when I was with the fans watching an open training session today, Richards was asked, "Are you okay?" by actually a Crystal Palace fan in the crowd, and he said, "Yep. If it was up to me, I'd be playing already." So it seems minor, and my expectation is he will start the World Cup opener.
Ben, great to talk to you. Thanks for a good insight there, Ben Jacobs, who's following the US national team for talkSPORT this summer at this World Cup. Pochettino with a job on his hands. We always say, Stuart, don't we, want the hosts to do well at a World Cup. Always helps, and it's no different here.
I think it's vital that the host countries always do well at a World Cup. I think it adds more to excitement on the ground. The fans get behind the team, and we've seen it many, many times, haven't we?
We have. Listen, this sports bar here in Orlando is cranking it up a bit. We're actually in the middle, Jim, of Stanley Cup and in the ice hockey and the NBA finals as well. So and there's baseball going on too. So you're in heaven right here.
I'm in heaven. Don't worry about that. I could just do with a few more positive results for the Tampa Bay Rays, but you can't have everything. Hoping that they'll be able to sort things out today as they come back home. But yeah, the Stanley Cup's been fantastic. There's some epic games in that. In the Vegas Carolina showdown, and then the basketball has similarly been superb. So yeah, plenty for us to look forward to over the course of the evening.
Yeah, they're alternate nights, and it's the basketball tonight. We're with you tomorrow, same time, 7 o'clock your time, 2 p.m. our time, live from Orlando, and we look forward to that next on talkSPORT. You've got the Sports Bar with Jamie O'Hara and Jason Cundy.
So what do you think of Chelsea keeping hold of him? How important is he to Chelsea?
Well, he's everything. He's the star. He's only got 7 years left on his contract, so the power might
Time
be.
is running out. He's probably